Wondery Plus subscribers can listen to Crime and Sports early and ad-free right now. Join Wondery Plus in the Wondery app or on Apple Podcasts.
In the depths of an Atlanta forest, a clash between activists and authorities ends in tragedy. I'm Matthew Scher, and on my new podcast, We Came to the Forest, we expose the hidden truths behind a shootout that left one activist dead and countless lives forever changed. Binge all episodes of We Came to the Forest ad-free on Wondery Plus.
Hello, and welcome to Crime and Sports.
Yay!
Ah, yay indeed, Jimmy. Yay indeed. Yeah. My name is James Petrogallo. I'm here with my co-host.
I'm Jimmy Wisman.
Thank you. You said that very sure. Like for once you're sure that your name is Jimmy Wisman as opposed to just being an educated guess.
That is who I am.
I got a thing in my pocket that says my name's Jimmy Wisman.
I'm confident.
Piece of something laminated, some horse shit. I don't know.
I got several of them.
Oh boy. Thank you so much for joining us this week. We have a fun, crazy episode. 80s and cocaine and, fat rednecks doing cocaine. It's a fun time. Yeah. It's a fun time this week. It's going to be a bit of a sad story, but then it's not that sad of a story. Okay. It's not like Steve Howe and his truck landed on his head or anything like that. No. This man's truck never lands on any part of his body, which is always a plus in the end for the actual athlete themselves. But we'll get to all that. First of all, I want to thank everyone for their wonderful iTunes reviews this week, or Apple Podcasts, whatever, the purple icon there on your phone. Thank you so much for those. They really, really, really help us out a lot. I mean, I know we've said it a million times and other podcasts say it, but that really helps. It shows people that your listeners are willing to, they're engaged and they're willing to interact. And it's, so thank you. That really, really helps us a lot. And it drives us up the charts. So if you have not done that yet, please get on that. Go over to the purple icon there, iTunes or whatever, and give us 5 stars. Doesn't matter what you say. Just tell us you're following instructions, following directions. Really doesn't matter to us. If you want to be a bigger hero than that, that is well possible in a number of different ways. First of all, you can go to shutupandgivememurder.com. shutupandgivememurder.com, where you can get all of the t-shirts, all of the merch, all of the everything like that. Buy that stuff there. Buy Small Town Murder Live shirts, and then go over to the link to the tickets.
Yes.
And buy tickets to Small Town Murder Live. We have a program note on that.
We do.
A big program note. If you had tickets to Monday, November 5th in Phoenix at the Van Buren, that is not a show anymore.
It is canceled.
It is canceled. Done. So do yourself a favor. You get a full refund on that, all that stuff, and then buy the new tickets, which is 2 days earlier, November 3rd, Saturday night at Stand Up Live in Phoenix, which is it's a better venue. It's just awesome, and the tickets are going to be, they're actually less expensive also.
Right.
So and it's a nicer venue.
And it's a Saturday
It's a Saturday night at 7 o'clock, I think. So, I mean, no excuses. Get your asses out there. It's perfect. So, please.
Tickets go on sale today.
They go on sale today. Please, we apologize for the inconvenience, and we really, really do. There was nothing that could be done about it. It was a local government thing, needed the venue. It's the night before the election. It's a weird thing. So
they wanted to put us somewhere else, and we refused.
Yeah, they wanted to put us somewhere that you guys would not have liked at all. It was terrible. So we said no, and we redid it completely. And trust me, this is a better experience for you. I understand if you had tickets and you wanted to go on the Monday night. That's awesome. We thank you for that. But if it's not going to be a good experience, if we can't put on the best show for you, we can't charge you the ticket prices and put that on. We just can't do it.
And this is our home club.
And this is our home club. They treat us right, and they're going to treat you guys right. It's really good stuff. So please do that. Buy those tickets. And if you want to be a bigger hero than that, even you can go also through shutupandgivememurder.com.
Right.
Take the link over to patreon.com/crimeandsports. You can make a donation there, or head over to PayPal and make a one-time donation using our email address, which is crimeandsports@gmail.com.
Right.
And with that said, Jimmy, I think we should get to our craziness this week. Let's just have fun and lose ourselves in a crime and sports. What do you say?
Be fucking glorious.
With all that goes on in the world,
it's shenanigans. It's
just hoodwinkery. It's nudnickery all around, and hoodwinkery as well. well. It's between just the world in general and just crazy, annoying business shit that keeps happening. We need to lose ourselves in a crime in sports. And so let's all collectively as a group lose ourselves in crime and sports, where there's always crime and sometimes sports. Let's do this. Let's talk about a baseball player.
Okay.
Let's talk about Lamarr Hoyt. Do you know who he is?
No.
You don't know who Lamarr Hoyt is? Okay.
Hoyt.
Lamarr Hoyt.
Expos.
No, you're not going to get the no. Forget that. You're just picking. You're just. I'm trying to make the connection. Lamarr.
Stab in the dark.
Hoyt. That's just stab in the dark. Okay. What do you picture immediately? Lamarr Hoyt.
Shortstop.
Shortstop. What's he look like?
Don't do that to me. That's
hilarious.
That's just terrible to do to me.
Lamarr Hoyt. Yes. What's he look like?
I picture him looking very small, like Otis Nixon.
Really? A little Otis Nixon? No, he's actually a big guy.
Oh.
He's actually a bigger guy.
Right.
Lamarr, and his full name is wonderful. His full name is Dewey Lamarr Hoyt Jr.
No,
he's a
first
junior.
name is Dewey?
Dewey.
And he got Junior?
So he's like, fuck it, I'll just Lamarr, because this Dewey is not going to go. I can't go by Dewey.
But he's definitely a junior.
Oh, he's a junior. Dewey Lamarr Hoyt Jr.
Hilarious.
Absolutely. Lamarr Hoyt. Never knew he was a junior till today, and I'm like, that explains a lot about his behavior. Yeah. It's junior-esque.
Yeah.
And he was date of birth, January 1st, 1955.
Jesus.
So just ring in the new year with this guy, with a boy named Dewey.
Yeah.
So,
he could have gone by DL. That's so much cooler.
That would have been cooler. Yeah. But, yeah, that's true. DL, like Hughley. Cool.
There's DL. It could have been DL Hoyt.
He's a big he's like a big bearded South Carolina white boy though. I don't know how DL is going to go. Yeah,
wow.
That's why I said, what do you picture? You don't White never popped into your head. White never popped into your head for a second, right?
Not even close.
I don't know why Lamarr Hoyt.
Dewey should have done it.
Yeah, true. But yeah.
But Lamar's a cowboy name, isn't it?
It is, kind of, I guess. It kind of, but then Lamar's also
Lamont is a cowboy name.
It's also a black guy name.
Yeah, it is. Also, I knew a kid.
Any of these could be cowboy or defensive end. Toss up. Any of them.
Cowboy names, that's exactly what they are.
Yeah.
That's hilarious.
I remember my friend. Yeah, never mind. It's crazy. So he's from Columbia, South Carolina. Yeah. That's where he's born.
Cowboy or defensive end.
Let's play cowboy or defensive end. Cowboy crooner or defensive end.
Tyrell. That's a cowboy name. Super cowboy name. Or
he's got 17 sacks last year. Yeah. Either one. So, we know there's some white defensive ends also, but for the most part, defensive ends are big black guys. Yeah.
Huge,
I picture,
gigantic.
Well, it's not even, I don't know if by the numbers it is, but just I picture Reggie White, Bruce Smith, the Deacon Jones, like the best ones of all time. I always, they're all, big giant black guys. So that's what you picture. Columbia, South Carolina, he's born. He grows up to be 6'3", and he's listed on Baseball Reference hilariously at 195, which he might have been 195 in his junior year of high school, possibly. But after that, at one point, he's 235, and he's like, I feel great. I feel like a teenager again. This is fantastic.
Because 235.
Because he gets up into the 280s at one point.
Holy shit.
He blows up.
That's a lot of man.
Big, bearded, bloated son of a bitch.
First baseman?
He's a pitcher. Right-handed pitcher.
Right.
Right-handed pitcher that doesn't throw very hard.
I should have guessed that, because the pitchers are always fat as fuck.
Yeah, well, first base is also a good guess. John Kruk played over there, for Christ's sake. I mean, let's be realistic here. But like they say, or like a great man once said, my friend Rod Beck, you never seen anybody on the DL with pulled fat. So
that's a damn good point.
They asked him once in Chicago if he was out of shape, and he goes, never seen anybody on the DL with pulled fat, did you? And they were like, all right, good enough. That's a good quote. So that's people liked him. Yeah, he's quotable. That's funny. So it's an old time thing here. He had a weird childhood, by the way. Had a rough childhood. This is one of those where it's not, Willie Mays Aikens with a dirt floor, but it's almost as bad. It's bad stuff. This is one of our, shockingly, didn't come up with a wonderful 2-parent home that just was loving and caring, or 1-parent home that was well-to-do and all. This is a mess from the start here.
Take his aggression out on something happened to be a little white pill.
Yeah, absolutely. Multiple little white pills.
Oh,
we'll
is
get to
that? Wow.
We'll
all
get
right.
to that. You're prescient, Jimmy.
I was talking about the ball.
The ball and other pills and things, and he likes the color white, we'll say.
All right.
He right after he's born, his parents got divorced, which isn't that abnormal. But in 1955, when you just have a baby, wasn't normal to get divorced right away. They try to make it work and be miserable for a couple years, and go through a bunch of domestic violence and not report it, and then eventually they'd break up and. But slowly.
A lot of quit your bitching being screamed in the house.
Yeah, very slow. Right. And his mother, Norma, kidnapped him from his father, Dewey Sr., old Dewey Sr.
What a life.
What a life. So he lives with Dewey Sr., and Norma kidnaps him when he's 6 months old.
She's a hero.
And takes him away to Santa Barbara. What? No, this is like against the law. This is a kidnapping.
It's a legit kidnapping.
It's a kidnapping. Not like
they
had like joint custody, and she just took him away, and he was like, "Where the fuck did you took my son? You can't do that without telling me." It was one of those. It wasn't like he was being held hostage and beaten and starved by his father, so his mother rescued him.
Not a lot of proof you'd need for that kidnapping case. What's his name? My name.
Yeah, my name.
That's how you know he's mine.
He's mine, and he's gone now.
Right. Mine. There. Now my license has a Roman numeral 1. Yeah. His would have a 2 if he could have one.
A junior.
Right.
So he's going to be a junior. So he goes off to they go off to Santa Barbara. Dewey Sr. worked for the city of Columbia, and this guy looking for his son, which I don't know if he's crazy or if he sounds like a decent guy, but this is, I think, what anybody would do if their son was taken like this. He worked for the city of Columbia. He takes a leave of absence and gathers up whatever money he had and drives to California to try to find his kid.
So he knows that's where they went.
Yeah, he heard that's where they went.
He's got a lead on him.
Yeah, that's the thing. But he couldn't. He would get there, and Norma wouldn't let him see. Wouldn't let him. He drove to California for Christ's sake.
For nothing.
Norma, was running away. Lamarr, she had hit him and locked him in a back bedroom and said, "You can't come in," and he's not here. And I don't know why this guy didn't call the cops. I mean, it was the 50s. I don't know how much the cops would get involved in that or not. Who the hell knows? They would have probably just came in and gone, "This lady's hysterical," and they would have given her the back of their hands. And they would have said, "All right, carry on." And they would have,
or they'd have been like, "Miss Senior, listen, she took
smack
the kid.
her, give him some whiskey."
She took the kid, Senior. Go enjoy your life. Yeah. You don't have her or the kid. Just enjoy yourself.
Listen, pal, you're not tied down now. This is going to be good for everybody. You go home, you find yourself a couple of nice young dames, and you're going to settle down with one of them, and maybe not. Maybe you'll settle down with a whole bunch of them every day. But then you're free the next day, like Joe Pesci and Goodfellas. Oh, that movie hasn't come out yet. Never mind. So
it's great.
It's a great thing. It's wonderful.
Except he wants his kid. He
wants his kid back. Yeah, he's like, it's Junior. He had some attachment to him. He did name him his own terrible name. It's like, I love him so much, I'm going to give him the same awful name that's tormented me my whole life. He's going to have it, and have that, little Dewey. Enjoy.
I want him named after one of Scrooge McDuck's nephews.
Perfect. That's what I want.
Fucking terrible.
There's dignity in that. Jesus. So a few months later, Dewey Sr., which is just funny every time I say it, quits his job to finally get Lamarr back. He just says, "This is it. I quit. I'll figure it out once I get my kid back." So this guy is on like Liam Neeson mission to get his son back. So what he does is he kidnaps his son back from her.
Oh no!
Which two kidnaps don't make a joint custody. You know what I mean? Two kidnaps don't make a visitation.
No.
Let's just put it that way. I think that's the rule we can all learn from this.
That's pretty solid
at this moment right now.
Meanwhile,
it's a good rule of thumb, I think.
Meanwhile, in my head, I'm trying to remember all three of the names of Scrooge McDuck's nephews, and I have Screwy, Dewey, and Louie.
That's what I thought too. That's what popped in my head.
Is it Screwy, Dewey, and Louie?
It popped in my head. I wasn't a big DuckTales fan.
It's driving me bananas.
I was not a normal child.
I am positive right now that one is not Screwy.
But that's what I thought too, though.
What the fuck is that?
Is it Huey, Dewey, and Louie?
Boom!
Huey,
that's
Dewey,
it.
That makes more sense.
Son of a bitch.
But Screwy sounds so much better.
It took me the past 3 minutes trying to
Huey.
go, why do I think it's Screwy?
I thought that when you said Screwy, I said that's absolutely correct. It's Screwy, Dewey, and Louie. This is what's your problem, Jimmy? I don't get what the issue is here. Screwy, Dewey, and Louie. Duh. Fucking moron.
What is that?
In my head, I'm like, fucking Jimmy's stupid.
There's something out there that's that, though.
No, I'm sure there is. There's got to be some sort of, maybe it's a porn parody you saw.
Don't put it
Dewey,
past me.
Louie, and Screwy over here. It's a guy in a duck mask banging away on some chick. Quack, quack, sweetheart. It's stuck in your head much more than DuckTales.
God damn it.
Oh, my God. So Dewey Sr. kidnaps his son back, which is nuts. He's less than a year old, too. Kidnapping a baby and taking him. First of all, driving cross country at all with a baby is insane. Yeah. And then to do it alone in the 50s, when you're like a 50s dad, when you were like, I don't know, I hose him off out there and I wrap him in a newspaper and I throw him in the back seat. I don't know. I tell, crawl around back there, kid.
The newspaper's dry. Why are you crying?
I don't understand it. I put some newspaper down for you to go on.
There's almonds in your baby carriage. Eat them.
I'm paper training him right now. So he's in the back seat, I guess. But anyway, Dewey ends up, he doesn't know how to take care of the kid, basically. Dewey. And he doesn't. He's like, I don't know what the fuck to do with this kid. I know I don't want her to have him. Yeah. I don't know if he thought Norma was unfit. And we'll find out from Norma's future and whatever. Norma's not the most stable person in the world, his mother. And Lamarr holds her, takes her to task for it and holds it against her.
He's not much better, though, driving 3,000 miles with zero knowledge of how to take care of the goal.
He was holding it, and then it was like Raising Arizona. I feel like they get the baby, and he's like, "Oh, what do we do now?" Yeah, he's holding it out like, "Oh shit,
we got it."
He's got to go back and steal Huggies now. I guess we need diapers.
You got a panty on your head,
son. You got a panty on your head. Hey, Screwy, you got a panty on your head. So Dewey drops his son Dewey and his other son Screwy off. What he does is he drops Lamarr off with his older sister, with Dewey's older sister. So
Dad's older sister?
Dad's older sister, his aunt. So Lamar's aunt. Okay. Margaret Hiller is her name. Margaret, she has a husband and 3 sons. So she's got like a family environment.
Yeah. She fully knows how to do this.
Yeah. This is like, they have a whole 50s house going on. And, I'm sure it's ridiculous.
This one's got a dick too. Show me how to fix it.
She's fine. So they're take him on in.
Yeah.
So they take this one in. They take Lamarr in, and Margaret said, "quote They just left him with me," talking about his parents. "Neither showed any concern or love for him. They just left him with me because they knew I'd take care of him. I did it out of love. I raised him and tried to give him love and a home and a security that his parents didn't. I didn't do it for roses. I did it because I loved him. He was our own flesh and blood. We loved him as one of ours. I just don't think of him as somebody else's. I see him as mine."
Wow.
So that's as lucky as you can get. Yeah. If your parents don't want you, you can't get any luckier than that. Right. Not someone just like, I took him in and I fed him, and what the fuck else do you want from me? He's not mine. Like, these people actually gave a flying shit about this child.
As long as they're upfront with him too, and are like raise him as like, I'm your aunt, but you're living with us. As long as they have that. Yeah. And they're not going like, I'm your mom now.
Yeah, I'm your mom now. These are your brothers. Right. It's all natural and fine. Everything's good. Why don't you look like them? Don't worry about it. It's fine.
Did that shit to my dad, and we wonder why he's a fucking mess now.
It's a problem. Yes. So after this, Margaret's husband, whose name is Hayward, who is his uncle, but this is like his parental figure here, like his father, was cleaning his rifle one day. And it accidentally fired, and it shot and killed their oldest son.
Oh my God, no!
So this is Lamarr's cousin, or brother in this case, oldest brother. Hayward and Margaret's oldest son is dead in the living room from a rifle wound.
Oh my God!
So this is as tragic as you can get. Yeah. Like this. Tragedy here is that's
right now. It started a long time ago. But this is really the capper.
Yeah, the baby thing, you could probably get over that if you're raised in a loving environment. And your parents didn't want you, whatever somebody else did, and they raised you great. But this is traumatic for any kid. This is, and outside of the 1800s, this is very traumatic. In the 1800s, it was like, oh, he went out a good way. At least he didn't suffer. Right. At least he didn't have tuberculosis and fucking wither away. So hey, rifle wound to the face is the way to go at 7 years old. That's how you want to go.
He made it 7 years without consumption.
That's pretty impressive. That's impressive. He had no.
Luckily, this house, they've got a surplus of children, so
he didn't die of shitting too much. So we're doing great. So this was bad. Obviously awful,
this is horrific.
And then a little bit later, Hayward dies. So
God, Jesus.
Now his father figure dies, and he's got the older brother figure dies. So now it's
Margaret
it's
and
Margaret
boys.
And the two sons and Lamarr at this point. So Lamarr calls his aunt Mama always, just because that's what he wants to do. He'd see his parents sometimes. So he wasn't being fooled. He knew what was going on. They dropped by, she said, every second, third, or fourth month, something like that. Yeah. Or just every once in a while, a few times a year. They drop by just to take a peek at him. Still alive? Good.
Wow.
Did he die of an accidental rifle wound? No? Well, excellent. That's terrific. So have a good one.
Yeah.
See you later.
We'll be back in a few months.
Be back later. Now, he knew who they were, but they didn't ever treat him as like their son, and he didn't treat them as their parents. It was just like, how you doing? Like those people. Like if your aunt and uncle came over that you really didn't give a shit about, and you just be like, hey, how's it going, Uncle Bob? And
My Christ, James, this is horrific.
This is not a nice story so far, and it's rough. He comes up in a rough way, and he feels like, and self-esteem is a problem for him his whole life. As every one of these stories that we come up with, where one of these kids isn't wanted and is shuffled off, it's always a self-esteem issue. It doesn't matter what kind of sport they're playing or even what their personality is. In the end, it's always like a self-esteem issue and something else.
And you could see the self-esteem being supplemented with the achievement of sport. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Like, that's how they get their approval, is by being good at something.
People tell them they're great, and they're like,
I'm
fuck,
stick with this shit.
My parents didn't even want me, and these people all think I'm great. This is fucking, why would I stop doing this? Shit.
I saw a 7-year-old shot in the fucking face.
Yeah, I saw it. Did you know that? I've seen 7-year-old brain on the wall, mister. You know what that's like? So, Jesus, that's terrible.
I can't imagine.
That's so fucking bad, man. That's, I don't even know how you recover from that as a family.
He at that point?
He was like, a few years old.
Oh, my
not
God.
That old.
He still remembers.
I'm sure he does. And if not, just to know that happened. And that is just, because that's something that's never going to leave, like the fog of that is never going to leave that home.
No.
Ever. It's just never going to leave.
Not.
That's going to hang over them all the time. Yeah. He's going to have a room it was his room or his bed or something. It's going to be, there's going to be pictures. And there's always that subject that you don't want to bring up. And, I don't know if it's hunting season was never the same around that household at all.
When I blew my hand up, like, the scars obviously are there forever. I look at it and remember, and I know what the smell of charred flesh smells like. Like war guys, when they say they know what charred, that shit smells so horrible. Memory, it triggers it from time to time. I'll smell something and be like, that smells like burned flesh.
I smelled it. Jumping Jack went up one of my friend's short legs. You want to smell burning flesh?
It's horrible.
He was a chubby white kid that jumped 7 feet in the air. I've never seen anything like it. He could have 360 dunked at that moment in time.
As a jumping jack.
As a jumping jack.
And a military grade
That's
weapon.
What I mean. Yeah.
It was insane.
This went at his ball bag, though. That's one thing. That'll make you go. That makes you go up.
After it happened, growing up, I fairly recently thought about, like, what would my mom have gone through the rest of her life had
guilt.
I died or lost my hand and then just bled out? Like, I can't imagine what she would have felt.
I'm sure she feels guilt every time she sees your hand now. She's
every time
like,
she sees my face, I'm sure of it.
Sorry about that. Didn't mean to let you actually blow a piece of you off. It's never going to grow back.
There you are. Thank God you're alive.
For a while, because you were little, they just told you were like a lizard and it would grow back just to make you feel better. And then after a while, you're like, this isn't going to happen, is it?
You guys, it's not there yet.
It's not happening.
I'm not Deadpool. This isn't coming back.
She's like, you got to rub mayonnaise on it at night. That's what you rub mayonnaise on the tip and then it'll grow back.
You just need a lot of rest.
It's like a fern leaf. You just got to rub it down. So Margaret says, quote, Lamarr was really smart. No one had to tell him anything. When he came to live with me, his mommy and daddy didn't come. When he started talking, he called me mama, and I didn't stop it. I wouldn't say I'm not. I wouldn't say I'm not your mama. We decided not to say anything and just to bring it up as our own. Bring him up as our own. His parents were never mentioned. We didn't want him to get confused, saying, "Why are my mommy and daddy somewhere else?" So it's just a weird situation. He had to know exactly what was up. That's why he said, "No, we didn't bring it up, but he wasn't stupid. He knew what was going on." Then he's not a dumb guy either. That's the thing, and he's very likable. A lot of people like him. She said, quote, every month or so they'd come. He wouldn't say, here's Mama. He'd say, here's Norma. He knew who they were, but their names were never mentioned. If they did come, I wouldn't encourage them on him or discourage them. I don't know if that's right, but if they loved him, they'd have showed up more than every few months.
That's
fair.
Not wrong either.
Not wrong. I can't see just seeing your kid every few months and being like, well, that's enough for me. All right, I got stuff to do. Like, that's awful. That's fucking terrible. That's just, I don't even know what that's awful behavior for both parents just to stop by. Both parents having complete equal levels of irresponsibility is nuts. You got to have somebody who's better, usually.
With the schedule with my kids, there's a 5-day window where I don't see them, and it fucking guts me.
Yeah, it sucks, That
5 days is the worst 5 days ever.
They got 4, and it sucks. It's that shit, it's that shit span.
You got to call them on FaceTime. Thank Christ I have that. Technology has made being a single dad a little bit easier. They didn't have that shit.
No.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, he didn't. They
wouldn't have used it.
They wouldn't have used it anyway. They were off doing something. They're just off doing some shit. Just
FaceTiming him to show him that they're at the fair.
I got to be Dewey's being Dewey right now, and I don't have time for any children or any other encumbrances that you all might have around. So.
Hello, Junior. How you been? Your mama, her mouth's. I mean, she's busy right now.
She's busy. Which mama? I don't know. What's your name again? I found her yesterday. So Hoyt fills the gap with sports, and it's just like you said. He gets to high school. He was quarterback on the football team and middle linebacker. So those are both the the guys who call the plays on both sides. So he's not dumb. You know what I mean? He was Hoyt said it was an odd combination, but I don't think that's an odd combination at all for high school. I mean, obviously one is a hitter and one's not a hitter, but still they're the guys who have to see the field and call the plays. So that makes perfect sense. He was a shortstop and a center fielder in baseball. He hit over 400 in his senior year, which he wasn't a good hitter. Obviously, he was a pitcher and he wasn't a good hitter in the majors. And they're like, oh, that's crazy. But like I said before, my friend Rod was the LA County co-offensive player of the year in high school.
Unbelievable.
Which is, he ended up being a relief pitcher. And Todd Zeal was the other guy who was a major leaguer for 15 years. So, super weird. He goes to Keenan High in Columbia. This is where he goes. Did a little research on that. He's the only future major leaguer ever to attend.
Really?
Keenan High in Columbia. In Columbia,
that's pretty shocking to me. Isn't there a lot of baseball players from South Carolina?
The South breeds a lot of baseball, but it's warm down there.
They get them in.
There's a lot of ball to be played.
Yeah, there is
down there. The summer's a little longer, so you don't get that. Pull in the. In New York, it's like if the gloves come off in October, it's like all right, it's too cold for that shit.
We'll let the majors deal with this.
Yeah,
shit.
we'll let that. They're done. Once they're done.
Playoff time. Let's get the fuck out of here.
Once the season's over, you're over. You're done with that shit back east.
Tell the boys the summer, boys. Let's go the fuck home.
That's why you get a ton of ball players in Florida and South Carolina and Texas because they play forever, all the time. So he plays baseball. That's his main concern. He's better at baseball than football, apparently. So good that in 1973, at 18 years old, in the June Major League Baseball amateur draft, he's drafted. In this draft, this is a crazy draft because actually I just read something on this draft. I just read a big thing about this draft because I read this book about the Texas Rangers from 1973 to 1975 when they came into existence, and they were just a fucking train wreck of an organization. Whitey Herzog was the manager for the first half of the year, who went on to be a huge success with the Cardinals, and then Billy Martin came in after, another World Series champion. Two guys that won World Series, but not with this terrible piece of shit team. And they drafted first overall in this draft a guy named David Clyde, who's a left-handed pitcher that everybody said was going to be better than Sandy Koufax. Like, everybody was like, I've never seen anything like him before. There was a GM who drafted second, and he went out to scout him, and he said, I left after the second inning because I figure he's not going to be there at number 2 anyway, so why bother? It's like, he's getting drafted number 1, and no one's going to pass this kid up. And what they did was they needed attendance at their shitty ballpark in Texas because no one cared about the Rangers, and he was a local Houston product. He was like a state champion. He was the biggest baseball prospect in the state, so everyone in Texas knew him. So they needed people to come to the gates, so they sign him and immediately pitch him in the major leagues at 18 years old when he was pitching in high school 2 months before that.
Horrible.
Which, big shocker, didn't work out in the end. He had a couple of good games, and then he hit the skids, and then he had arm troubles because they would throw him an insane amount against major leaguers, and he was washed out in 5 years out of the league.
Poor kid.
Yeah, it was a mess, man.
23 years old, done.
Yeah, I think he was like 26, 27, but I mean, he was in the minors for a couple of years after
Made
that.
No money.
He was done, and they just ruined him. I mean, they could have brought him along slowly, and he was a really good pitcher even. I mean, just on stuff, he was getting by at 18 for the first few starts, and then They just kept going. They were pitching him on, every fourth day and shit like
brutal.
that. But they end up passing up a couple of Hall of Famers at number 3 and 4.
Really?
Robin Yount and Dave Winfield.
Oh no.
Number 3 and 4, which is you want both those guys, I would say.
Robin Yount came back to haunt him later, didn't he?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
He beat the
Brewers. He was on for years and years.
Who am I thinking of?
Who are you talking about?
I'm thinking of the guy that charged the mound after Nolan Ryan.
Ventura. That's later on.
God damn it.
Robin Yount's a Hall of Fame. It was Yount and Molitor on the Brewers.
Yeah.
You know who he is. Center fielder, every different position, shortstop, second baseman.
God damn it.
Played
How do I confuse those
blonde
two?
guy.
Two dudes named Robin. That's fucking
that's what I mean. How many of those are there? That's the thing. We're Robin Roberts from back in the day. Other people in this draft, Lee Mazzilli, who was a long-time player. He played forever. He was a manager, too, for a long time. Yeah. He's an Italian guy who played baseball. It says the law he must manage a team for a while, at least. Also, Steve Swisher, who turned out to be a general manager later on, and who's Nick Swisher's dad. The current ball player, not current, but I think he's still playing Nick Swisher. I don't even know.
Probably.
Also in this draft, Fred Lynn in the second round to the Red Sox, who was a Rookie of the Year. Len Barker turned out to be a good pitcher. Eddie Murray, Hall of Famer, who I, as a child, confused with Eddie Murphy, and was the most impressed.
Everybody did.
But I was so impressed because I'm like, he's the funniest guy in the world, and he hits home runs like crazy.
Constantly.
He's the greatest person ever. I was like, this is amazing. No, not at all. Orioles and Dodgers and Mets and not Expo. Everyone but the Expos, Jimmy. He played for 29 other teams.
I have his card, I think, from
over
the
his
Blue
career.
Jays.
Floyd Bannister, Mike Krukow, who ended up being an announcer later on. If you've played any of the EA Sports baseball video games for the last 15 years, he's one of the fucking announcers constantly. Jack Clark, the home run hitting Giants for a while. Yes, absolutely. Jeff Reardon, another good pitcher. Expos, actually. He actually was on the Expos. But he actually was.
You're goddamn right he was.
Goddamn right he was. I found someone on the Expos for you, Jimmy, that you could say. I pointed to you excitedly, like, say it now.
And I was like, what happened?
I know, you're like, never mind. Like, shit. For once, it's the right answer, damn it. For once. Number in the 5th round, number 109 overall, the New York Yankees select Lamarr Hoyt.
How about that?
In the 5th round for an 18-year-old kid, not bad.
Going to the Yanks.
And back then, 5th round wasn't terrible either because there were, less teams and shit like that. Sure. He had a rough transition into pro ball, as a lot of people do. Yeah. They put you in, and this is what they were saying about the David Clyde kid, is Whitey Herzog was saying to the press, the guy who wrote this book was like their beat writer, daily newspaper beat writer for the whole time. So he just collected all his stories and wrote this crazy ass book of these insane people. And they talked about David Clyde. Whitey Herzog the manager wanted to send David Clyde, the number 1 draft pick, down, to rookie ball, get him used to being away from home. So that's what they want you to do. When they draft you when you're 18, you're a kid. You lived with your parents a month ago. Like, you're coming from your parents' house. Like, your mom made you dinner last night. They want to get you the fuck away from that. Right. Let you know what the road's like to room with some other 18-year-old kid instead of having your own room and having your parents, kissing your ass and all that sort of shit. That's just to get you away from home. They don't care about your numbers in rookie ball. Just see if he survives mentally. Okay. And then they go from there, type of thing. And then you worry about baseball once you're used to that. So he's sent to rookie camp in Johnson City, Tennessee. He gets there a day early. No one was around. He was bored and depressed, kind of. Lamarr was. He just sat there in his hotel room, and eventually he called Margaret, and he was just distraught from being there, didn't want to be there. He said, quote, "Mama, I'm on my way home." And she said, "Lamarr, you didn't give it a chance. You're probably just homesick." And then she said, "Go, come on home if you want to come home, though."
He quoted Ozzy.
He quoted, "Yeah, Mama, I'm coming home." Mama, I'm on my way home. But that would have been
close enough.
That would have been a less catchy song, I feel like. "Mama, I'm on my way. I'll be there in a few minutes. I know I said I'd call first, but it's okay." That would have been a much different song.
I miss South Carolina.
I miss Columbia. I'm coming home. Can you make me that shit I like for dinner? So He gets home, and Margaret talks him into going back. Because, I mean, it's, not that far. And she says, could turn around and go back. Right. What are you doing here?
It's an opportunity.
You're blowing your opportunity. Right. What do you want to sit around here and be a fucking soybean farmer or something? I mean, get out of here.
The Yankees drafted you.
Yeah.
Are you out of your fucking
Seriously,
mind?
get the fuck out of here. I mean, it's the god. I mean, this was a bad time for the Yankees, 73, but it's still the goddamn Yankees. It doesn't matter. Yeah. And it's a major league team. It doesn't matter if it's the fucking Royals or anybody. Who cares? It's a major league team. So, or even the shit Rangers could have drafted you. This time he gets there, and there's 3 scouts waiting for him at the hotel for him to, so now he's got to get in the swing of things. When he gets to the hotel, oddly enough, he gets a phone call from Norma. Norma just lived about 30 miles away from the rookie camp that he was in for the whole time, which is a coincidence. He never went to visit her.
None.
He was just like, that's nice.
Except for that one time when he ran home.
Yeah, no, that was to Margaret.
Oh, yeah,
that was all to Margaret. This is Norma lives. He found out Norma called him and said, "Oh, I heard you're 30 miles away," and he went, "Yep, well, that's nice."
And playing pro ball.
Have a good one.
Yeah.
And she never came to see him. He never came to see her. It was just a very odd relationship here with these people. But his rookie year here, 1973, he's playing rookie ball in the Appalachian League of Johnson City. He has a 3.91 ERA. Like I said, it doesn't matter what he does there. He's in 12 games. He starts all 12. So they're actually letting him be a starter, which isn't bad. 76 innings, 73 hits, which is fine. Yeah. That's not bad at all, actually. The less hits than innings pitched. Not terrible. 5 complete games, as they did want to wear a young pitcher's arm down to nothing. Back then, the theory was, well, he's young and strong. You pitch him fucking 180 pitches. Who cares?
He'll last right now.
That's what it was. It was like, yeah, get it while it's there. Right. Like, it's going to go.
Everyone out there should listen to Small Town Murder. Yeah. You really should, mainly because you never know who's next door. Oh. And that's the point of this show, really. You never know who is next door. You never know what's going to happen on Small Town Murder. That's what makes it so wonderful. The only thing you do know is that people are going to die, and we're probably going to make jokes about it. That's it. That's all we can promise you. We dig into these towns. We see what makes them tick, from local legends to scandals they may have had. And, of course, the biggest scandals of all, horrible murders that take place there. And we put what I feel is a completely appropriate comedic spin on the whole thing. And you need a laugh right now. So get in there, listen to Small Town Murder, follow Small Town Murder on the Wondery app or wherever you get your podcasts. You can listen to Small Town Murder early and ad-free right now on Wondery Plus.
In the 1980s, a rosé swept the country.
Hey, Mike, I really like this White Zinfandel.
Well, good. Now put it down. I'm going to try another one.
White Zin became America's top-selling wine. But most don't know that this sweet drink has a sour history. What began in 1986 with counterfeit bottles.
A big fraud, a multi-million-dollar fraud.
Sent investigators chasing one of the most powerful families in the business, the Licciardis. But the closer the feds got to them, the more dangerous things became. It's a story of deceit.
At the time, I was paranoid.
Threats.
You touch my kids, I will kill you.
And murder.
With a .22 caliber bullet to the head.
What started with a scheme to mislabel wine spilled into a blood-soaked battle for succession. Welcome to Bloodvines. You can binge listen to Bloodvines exclusively and ad-free on Wondery Plus. Join Wondery Plus in the Wondery app, Apple Podcasts, or Spotify.
Like, when you're like 28, your arm magically gets weird, so you have to put all the mileage on it ahead of time. Now. Everything you can front load on it, it's fine, because then it's going to blow up. They didn't think like, oh, maybe it's blowing up at 29 because we're fucking putting all this mileage on this fucking arm when he's 18 years old.
We're wearing the shit out of the cartilage.
Oh, everything.
But they don't get it.
They don't understand that. And now, and who knows what the right way is, because now they baby guys too much, and then they actually need to pitch 200 innings in a year, and they can't do it because they never did. Who the fuck knows? I think it's just a genetic thing that some people can't do that. Most people can't. Some people have freaky, weird bodies where their arms can do that and not get destroyed from it. A guy like Nolan Ryan, you can
pitches into his 60s.
Yeah, Roger Clemens, steroids or not. I don't care what you're on. If you're pitching when you're 44, that's pretty crazy. Goddamn impressive. Without your arm falling off, that's crazy that you've had no major arm injuries or anything like that. So. Next year, he is in Fort Lauderdale in single A ball, so they move him up a little bit. He's 13-4 overall in 23 starts, which isn't bad. 161 innings pitched, 143 hits. Not terrible at all. 77 strikeouts. He's not a strikeout guy. No. He's a guy that wants you to hit the ball, pop you up, hit it on the ground. Well, he doesn't throw very hard. He throws 88 miles an hour, so he's not going to blow you away. He's got a nice curveball and shit like that, and he's known for his accuracy. Pinpoint accuracy is his thing, which you have to be. And if you can be accurate like that, you can be great. You can. Greg Maddux. I don't think he ever threw 90 miles an hour. I really don't. Even in his rookie year, when he was young, but he could put the ball on a dime. So he's won the Cy Young like 4 times. That's what happens. Not bad at all. So 75
World Series rings, that motherfucker.
Yeah, I think he has 1.
Is it just 1?
The Braves, man.
I thought they had 2 or 3.
95 is the only one I know.
Is that the
of.
only one the Braves ever won?
In the 90s, they didn't win shit. They won once.
Glavine and Maddox, the one at once.
And Smoltz and Avery. They had
that's a great pitching lineup.
Quite the rotation
Jesus
there.
Christ.
And once.
That'll win you.
95.
That'll get you one.
Cleveland they had to beat to get there. Cleveland ruining the mystique of Major League completely by going to the World Series. Being successful and losing all their charm.
But I think that's what they did in the movie, too, was went to the World Series
Probably.
and lost.
Yeah, but they
went to the World Series.
Lost all their charm there, too. And then 3 came out and nobody cared.
Nobody
That's
gave
what
a
happened.
fuck.
Once you're good, we don't care anymore. We like a lovable loser. You either have to be a perennial winner or a lovable loser. We don't want anything in between. You win once in a while, fuck out of here with that shit.
The Cubs win, and now I don't give a shit.
Nobody cares anymore.
Care.
Now they got knocked out early in the playoffs this year, and it's like everyone's like, who cares?
I damn near cried with that idiot with the fucking headphones catching the ball.
That was the shortstop's fault. The shortstop shouldn't have let the double play ball go through his legs, and it wouldn't have mattered because that would have never happened. Blaming some poor fan when some fucking guy who gets paid to fucking catch ground balls misses a double play ball.
That's a good point too.
Now that made me so mad. That was the thing I was maddest about. I was pissed at the shortstop was it Alex Gonzalez, I think, for not saying, hey, this is my fault. Stop blaming him. I should have made a fucking double play. But he was the luckiest man on earth. If that doesn't happen, he's the schmuck. Think about that.
Oh Christ, he's fired.
He's the Leon Durham, who's the guy who blew it in '84 for them. He's that guy who let the ball go through his legs then, and he's their Bill Buckner. That's what he would be. But instead, they found an asshole to blame it on out in left field.
A little league coach. That's what that guy was. Poor fucking dude.
He was wearing round glasses. You know what I mean? He's not a man. He's not the Joker here or something that's out to destroy people's dreams. He's just a dork.
He's literally listening to the game that he's watching. That's a
hardcore fan.
That's a nerd.
That's a hardcore fan.
Probably scoring the game. Yeah.
Hardcore fans. They do that. They'll listen on the radio while they're watching, and they want to get the announcer. They're into it. They want to feel the whole experience. And that's what he was doing.
In the air, and he can't even hear it happening because of the delay until he interferes or catches the ball or whatever the fuck.
Not to mention Moises.
Moises Alou.
Gee, I don't know. Maybe fucking get in there and knock fans off on the side. Out of the way, cocksucker.
Muscle somebody out.
Come. And then the other guy who hit the ball who got no fucking hate for it at all until years later when they saw more footage. There's a whole documentary about that.
Yeah, I've seen it.
It's amazing. The 30 for 30.
Yeah.
About how the vibe in the stadium changes and it turns into this like angry mob from this party over the course of 10 minutes.
And they're not even watching the game anymore.
Dude, it's fucking ugly.
They're just shouting horrible things at this kid who's trying to watch the rest of the game.
This poor guy's and they take him out for his own good.
And you want to shout at the people, there's still an inning to go, motherfucker. Yeah. Shut up.
This is insane. Yeah, that was creepy. That just shows human nature is terrible.
You know
when it gets in a crowd.
It shows Chicago fans' nature.
It's just any crowd of people when they get together, and especially you mix alcohol in that, and oh my God, emotions.
It was all over that kid.
That's true.
He was wearing it,
and they were drinking from. They were dumping shit from the upper deck.
It's a cold October, and that kid's wearing that shit.
That was miserable as fuck, man. Jesus, fucking idiots. That was so stupid. So he starts 75 off in Fort Lauderdale. 20 years old, by the way, mind you. So he's a kid. Then he goes to West Haven of Double A. So 20 years old, they already have him in Double A. So that they think he's a comer here. And that sounds
West Haven,
gross,
Connecticut?
I believe it is. So
Florida to Connecticut. That's a fucking lifestyle change.
That's not bad. But still, it's.
I
feel like
it's all. It's all sun stuff anyway.
And plus, they're also, they go around everywhere and they're living in fucking buses and shit.
Yeah.
They don't care where they are. It's all terrible.
Doesn't matter.
Wherever they are, they're living in a shitty concrete room for cheap. That's for a fact. Like that, we do know. Yeah. So he's 2-4 in West Haven and only 8 starts that year. He has 44 innings pitched, 45 hits. So the competition gets a little stiffer and he gets a little less dominant here. 76, he starts out in West Haven, and then they move him up to Double-A Knoxville, and then Triple-A Iowa. We'll talk about where that is, but that's not with the Yankee organization, because April 5th, 1977, he's traded by the Yankees.
Ouch.
And this is weird. He is traded for like guys who have like dominoes fall. Like he's a butterfly effect guy where like he's traded for people who then do big things for the person. He's that guy. Yeah, it's weird. And it's also too, he's involved in another, like the biggest record in baseball. We'll talk about it. He's a weird historical figure, this Lamarr Hoyt. He's traded to by the Yankees with a guy named Robert Polinsky, who's a minor leaguer. And Oscar Gamble, who, you know, Oscar Gamble is the greatest baseball card of the 70s, the Yankee hat with the fro coming out 8 inches on each side under the hat. Like he put the hat on a giant fro, and it's like, he's got he's a great center fielder. He's got a giant fucking fro. It's awesome. I mean, it's like a thing, an Oscar Gamble fro. Like people will say,
it's not like the Jerry curl poking.
No,
it's an actual afro.
It's a 70s
that he, like,
fro.
Wedged
and he put a hat on, and then the hat and then the hair sticks out of. It's the greatest baseball card of the 70s by hands down.
I want to see it.
It's amazing. So they trade him and Oscar Gamble later on, and $200,000 and cash to the White Sox for Bucky Dent.
Okay.
So he goes to the White Sox, and Bucky Dent goes back to the Yankees. And Bucky Dent ends up in 1977, and later on he ends up hitting that home run against the Red Sox, and so he becomes a major historical figure in Yankee history. And later on, there's somebody else that's traded for a major historical figure in that club's history. Now, he says on the day he arrived, the Iowa manager said, "Let's see what you've got." And he pitched 7 innings the day before. Hoyt did. So he said, "You guys scouted me. You ought to know what I throw by now. You traded for me, so you should know who the fuck I am."
And I just threw yesterday. So
yeah, I'm good. Yeah, ask my coach how I was yesterday. The coach thought he was joking, and he told Hoyt to throw. And Hoyt said his arm was tired, and so he threw it like half speed. And after 5 minutes, he stopped and said, "That's it. I'm not doing this anymore." So the coach said, "Son, I don't know what you've been, how you've gotten guys out before, but you won't get guys out here with that." So he was just doing half speed. It was just one of those like this bullshit. Like
holler at me in 2 days, coach.
Yeah,
I'm going to lay
yesterday.
down. Right.
Yeah. Nowadays you go in and be like, "Yeah, I pitched 7 yesterday." They'd be like, "Oh yeah, well, fucking ice down and do your routine, and I'll see you in 3 days.
Climb in the tub."
Yeah, do your thing because you're hurting. So Sparks sent him to Double-A that year. And he ended up, Hoyt asked for his moving expenses. Back then, this was a thing. I remember in Ball 4, the Jim Bouton book, he talks about this. Because back then, the guys didn't get paid a lot, especially a minor leaguer. They were making $16,000 a year, shit like that. So when you got traded or when you were sent down or up or somewhere to another town, you had to fucking move.
Right.
So you had to take your shit and go, and you would need expenses. You need to rent a van and a security deposit that you're not going to get back, and then you have to put one down at the new place.
I broke a lease for this shit.
That's what I mean. They would. And a lot of times the clubs would have ball player friendly apartment complexes that would do month-to-month leases.
Nice.
Sometimes, but sometimes not. Like some of the guys had families, and it was a different story. So the one thing they have to do, though, is the club that sends you away has to pay your moving expenses. That's the one thing they owe you, is whatever that is. So
the Yankees are on the hook for that.
They're on the hook for moving. Well, now the White Sox are, because he came in AAA and the manager sent him down to Double-A.
Got it.
And so he said, "Okay, well, you owe me $500 then for my moving expenses," and the White Sox wouldn't pay him the $500. That's how cheap they were.
Wow.
So he threatened to quit. He said, "Well, you don't pay me, I'm not fucking pitching for you," which is funny because there's a story just like that in the Ball 4 book where they're arguing over $88. $88, where they said he owed $88 for breaking a door, and he said that they owed him $55 for 5 cases of Gatorade that he bought out of his own money for the clubhouse because it was new and they wanted to try it. The team the way how petty it was back then is insane. Now they don't give a fuck. It's million. They don't care about dollars and pennies.
Those minor league guys knew what rookies in the NFL were throwing away.
Yeah. Oh my God. And rookies in the baseball now too, just tossing it, but not the minors. In the minors, you still live like shit.
Yeah.
You're still, even if you have, you're doing well, you're still in the minors. Yeah. Even if you got a big bonus or something like that. They told him that his moving expense check, the general manager had it. They said the GM has it, so he stayed. He's like, all right, well, as long as you're going to pay me, but he never got the check. And and paychecks, I guess, were coming 2 weeks late, which is weird. So fucked up minor league shit.
How was that?
That's so he threatened to quit again, and he ended up boycotting a game over it. Yeah. Which is fucking interesting.
And that also is a cut and pay.
Which is also a cut and exactly. That's one less pay you're going to get. They finally paid him out of the $500 he wanted in moving expenses. They gave him $176.
That's what he settled on.
Which sounds like that's what the guy had in his pocket. Yeah. And he's like, how about $176? How's that? What do you say? Right now, cash money.
How's that sound?
And he's like, fine. He just took it and was like, fucking asshole, walked away.
Like a bad Craigslist deal.
Yeah, it really is a fucking bad Craigslist deal. 77. He ends up. He pitches all right. He has a lot of losses in 77, but I mean, I feel like they're treating him like shit. He couldn't have felt very good. 5-15 record, 4.70 ERA. Yeah. So not terrific. That's his worst year yet so far. They send him eventually down to single A for a minute, and we'll talk about that. Okay. All the way down to single A, where he goes 18-4 with a 2.90 ERA because he's too good for single A at that point. He's 24 years old and he's pitching against 18-year-olds. For some of the time here. This all happens. At one point, the minor league coordinator for the White Sox said to Hoyt, and son, what can we do to make you a better pitcher? And Hoyt said, quote, if you put me in the big leagues and leave me alone, I think I'll be okay. Oh. And so the guy laughed and said, yeah, sure, kid.
That's what everybody says.
Yeah,
right?
Sure. Yeah, no problem. So they said, that's great. And they sent him to single A.
Yeah.
So that happened there. He said, quote, I don't know if they were messing with me.
That's like a bad offer up deal.
Yeah, you end up with fucking Class A. Shit.
I will take the majors, please.
No.
All right, single A it is.
Oh, damn it. Shit, I should have taken the envelope.
Have you ever put anything on offer up?
No.
You put some on offer up and you're like, I put an end table on there and I'm like $95. And then somebody wrote me, I really like your end table. Will you take $5? It's like, what the fuck are you
Will you take 3 toenails? And a pizza crust, because that's what I have.
Would you take a now and later and a Tic Tac? No, I would not. How about $95?
Yeah.
You motherfucker.
Jesus
you
Christ.
cheap fuck.
So
I'm a struggling mom with 3 kids. Oh, Christ. Now I get a sob story?
An end table's going to make... Yeah, you can feed your kids with that end table now. You can break it up for firewood. What are you talking about?
What the fuck?
Then you don't need an end table. You have other issues. Maybe you do need an end table.
Everybody on offer up is a single mom with a ridiculous amount of children, or everybody is dying.
I was going to say a ridiculous amount of kids, or a smaller amount, but one of them is violently, viciously ill.
And
horrible
the only
disease.
thing that will cure that child is your end table.
He needs to put his apparatus machine breathing thing on it. So right now it's just on the floor and the dog knocks it over and rips the tubes out of his nose. It's very bad.
Please accept our $5 and save our kid.
For the love of God, save us. Save our struggling family. Good
you
Lord.
Motherfuckers, and nobody's dying.
Nobody's ever dying, damn it. So he says about being sent down to Class A, I don't know if they were messing with me or if they were like that with everybody. I said, what the heck? If these guys are determining my career, there's no sense in staying. Things were going in reverse. I'd been with 1 or 2 pitchers of the major leagues with the Yankees, and now I was at A-ball. I didn't think I had a high value in the White Sox organization at the time. I think they thought I was a jerk. There was a lack of communication. I guess so. So he quit and went home. Quits and goes home to Margaret like he's 17. Yeah. So that's that. Eventually, he ends up going back in 1978. He goes to the Class A team, like I told you, goes 18-4, has 13 complete games. So wearing that arm down. they said after the season they told him to go to an instructional league, which is like winter ball type thing. And he said in that league, quote, anyone with a breaking ball could pitch. So that was just if you could throw a curveball, you're getting these kids out.
Something different. Than,
The kids they're known for not being able to hit breaking balls well yet. That's in high school. Nobody has vicious sliders. There's
very few.
Some of the kids throw 95, but that's all you need in high school. Right. You don't need to have a change of speed also. Because that would be amazing. That winter, though, Tony La Russa, who we all as a multiple World Series champion with 2 different teams, and he started out with the White Sox organization.
Did he really?
Here, yeah, he did. He was not started out, but he was working
fast, right?
And then that's Tommy Lasorda. That's the Dodgers.
I've fucking done it before too.
Yeah, you did. La Russa, Lasorda, Italian managers. There's a ton of them.
But these two are entirely different men.
Way different.
Who look entirely different.
Totally different.
Never coached the same
One's
teams.
like a goofy, silly fat guy, and one is like a very serious, stoic.
Much less silly.
Much less
fat
silly.
Guy.
Sort of fat guy, yeah. With more DUIs than the other. So, La Russa's got a few. So,
that's what happens in St. Louis, though. You're gonna get
everywhere.
Yeah.
But I mean, he won World Series in Oakland. He won World Series in St. Louis. Right. He's, La Russa's a bad motherfucker, basically. He's a bad man. And he came up with, when he first started coaching in Chicago, he had weird, like, newfangled shit like they do now. Like, they have new things now. They shift all the time, or they do this all the time. He was the first he had a pitching rotation where guys would pitch 3 innings. Rather than start and go 5, he would want them to go 3, so there was a different rotation. Everybody was always ready, and it was like this weird... He had a whole system set up, but the problem was, whether it worked or not, it didn't matter, because the starting pitchers didn't get wins, because they only pitched 3 innings. You have to have 5 to qualify. So all of them were saying, hey, asshole, when my contract comes up, it's set, but if they're down when they go out after 3 innings, then they get a loss.
Right.
So they're like, my contract here is going to be shit when I'm 0-11 next year, because you didn't leave me in it long enough to win any fucking games.
We better win the World Series, sir. Otherwise, I'm worthless.
I look like an asshole. Right. Yeah, my stat-wise, I look like a piece of shit. So he said that La Russa was working in the minor league system, and he had an opening for a Class A player in the Dominican Republic. Hoyt figured that there'd be some decent money down there because they need people. And he said, quote, Tony rescued me. They had winter baseball, and this is Hoyt learned his control that year. He learned to his changeup started to come into play in the winter league, and he started to get his control down. And once you never know when a pitcher is who knows. You can say, oh, that guy throws 98, but is he ever going to get his control? Who knows? You never know. Or a guy who looks like shit, he might just figure it out one day where he just has that thing, and then he finds his control. It's such a crapshoot pitching. So, he turns, he's not a power guy, so he's more of a finesse pitcher. La Russa ends up going up to Double-A to manage, and he takes Hoyt with him.
How about this?
And then he goes up to Triple-A, and Hoyt goes with him. And he's like, Hoyt's La Russa's guy.
Yeah.
He likes him. And 1979, La Russa becomes manager of the Chicago White Sox. And Hoyt gets called up late in the season. September call-ups when rosters expand.
Yeah.
September 14th, 1979 makes his major league debut.
How about this?
How about that? Versus Oakland. They bring him in relief, as they often do with a rookie kid. They don't start him his first time out. He pitches 1 inning, no hits, no strikeouts, no walks, no earned runs, so just gets out of it without fucking up, which is perfect. That's what you want to do. Don't draw any attention to yourself. Don't mess it up. The White Sox this year, not very good. They finished 73-87 for 5th in the AL West. Just terrible. They fired their manager, Don Kessinger, halfway through the year and brought in Tony La Russa, who went 27-27, which was an improvement.
Yeah.
So 500 was better. Not too shabby. Lamarr that year pitches in 2 games. Doesn't start either of them. He only pitches 3 innings. So he pitched 2 innings the next one. Gives up 2 hits and really has no other stats. Okay. That's it. 2 hits in 3 innings in his first year. So, but he gets a taste. Yeah. He puts the uniform on. Someone else carries his bags into the hotel.
Trots out there.
Shit's good.
When they tag he's a righty or lefty?
Righty. He's a righty, yeah. So,
La Russa came out to the mound, tapped that right arm, and here he comes running out of the bullpen.
Had to feel goddamn good.
Fucking heroic.
That had to feel wonderful.
Yeah.
Jesus, I would love that to happen. Wouldn't you love doing? Didn't you ever always? That'd be amazing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
We're not going to happen.
No,
it's all over for us, Jimmy.
I wasn't a hard throwing kid anyway.
And you weren't going to be.
I could get it where it
have
needed
major
to
league
be.
dreams.
I could get it where it needed to be, but if I pitched where it needed to be, it would be over the fence the other way.
Also, it's where they need it to be as well, is the problem. So 1980, they go 70-90, finish fifth in the AL West. I guess they had a couple games that didn't matter, so they didn't make them up rain games like they do.
Fuck it.
Fuck it. Yeah,
it's a fuck it game.
They were out of it. Meh, fuck it. Lamarr pitches in 24 games. He starts 13 of them, so they make him a starter. He starts the year off in the minors, and they bring him up early.
How about this?
He ends up going 9-3 overall with a 4.57 ERA, 112 innings pitched, 123 hits, which, I mean, it's not the best, but it's not awful either. Only 41 walks out of that. So, I mean,
James, he doesn't know his dad. He doesn't know his mom.
He doesn't know anything.
This is fucking amazing.
But he's doing great. He's 25. He's doing great, and that's a solid rookie year. It's a 4.5 that's a quality start. A quality start is 6 innings with an ERA of 4.5. So he's averaging about a quality start. Not spectacular, but for a rookie, he's holding his own. He belongs there, at least in the league, which is a plus. 1981, they finish. This is weird here. They I think this was a strike year, 1981, I believe, right? Yeah, because they finished 54-52, which is not
104.
I think that was a strike.
182.
That's not 162 at all.
Whatever it is.
Yeah, they finished
it's
third.
It's a fuckload. Is how many games they play.
Yeah. It's a shitload of fucking games. So they end up. This is Tony La Russa again. They end up. Hoyt ends up going 9-3 again this year. He only starts in one game, but he's in 43. So he's a lot of relief appearances. He pitches 43 games. He's only 90 innings. So that tells you a lot. But his ERA is 3.57, so he brings it down an entire run from 4.57 to 3.57. Only 80 hits. So he brings his hits under his innings pitched, which was more last year. So he's doing well there. He has less walks this year also. So
this is good.
He's coming around. He's getting better in 1981. 1982, the beginning of the year, May, he is the AL Pitcher of the Month.
Wow.
So coming around big time in 82, really figuring it out. The team goes 87-75 and finishes third in the AL West under Tony La Russa, but that's better than they were a couple years ago. They're getting better. He's getting better. Things are working out. This year, he pitches 39 games. He starts 32 of them. Okay. So he's a starter this year. 239.2 innings, which nowadays would be
that's insane.
An unbelievable Iron Man. They'd be talking about the steel arm of this man. And back then, that was common as fuck. That was just what starters threw. 248 hits, 94 earned runs on the year. So 48 walks, which isn't bad at all. Not terrible. 19 wins and 15 losses. So, and he stays in games so long, a lot of innings pitched, that he has a lot of decisions. That's 19 and 15 is a shitload of decisions.
Almost 20 wins is terrific.
That's great. No, it's terrific. And especially for a struggling team like that, to have a young guy that can go in and fucking eat some innings and, do it. It's not a bad thing here at all. So, they're impressed with him in 82 and they're expecting better things from him in 83, which is, what you would expect, obviously. 1983, the White Sox have a great year. They finished 99-63, which is good for first in the AL West.
Yes.
So they're a much better team this year. Tony La Russa has brought them from shit, from coming in the middle of a terrible season to
first place.
So that's pretty fucking awesome. I have to say, they lose in the first round of the playoffs, but still, they still made it, which is impressive. Anyway, that was the year 83. I believe that was when the Orioles were a juggernaut, and Cal Ripken's rookie year and all that in their second year, and they were beastly that year. So I don't think you're going to beat them.
Did they win?
I believe they won in 83. Okay. Yeah. So with Cal Senior they had Cal Senior as the manager, Cal Junior as the shortstop, and then Billy Ripken with the fuck on his bat. And
they haven't forgotten
base.
Since.
No one has.
The Orioles love that team, or the Baltimore.
Oh Jesus, the Ripkens.
Baltimore cannot get enough Ripken.
They love those fucking Ripkens. Yeah, that's their whole thing, their whole goddamn thing. The two most beloved people in Baltimore are fucking Cal Ripken and Omar. Like they're the two. You can't get more popular than either of them. I feel like. I want a scene where Omar robbed Cal Ripken. I think that would have been the most popular scene ever. It'd been amazing.
Maybe Ray Lewis.
He's got crack. Cal slinging. He didn't fucking. It's like, damn, man, how'd you know? Omar's like, I know. Omar know everything. He just cocks his shotgun.
A man that's been in that town almost as long as Joe Flacco, and they will never love him.
No,
like
and he won a Super Bowl. Yeah. They loved him for 5 minutes.
Right.
5 minutes, and they were like, that's enough of you.
He won the Super Bowl.
Mister.
They had a 5-minute conversation about him being quote-unquote elite, and then the very next season, they're like, fuck Joe Flacco.
He's garbage again. So, 83 season. So, like we said, first place. They're really good. Their attendance too goes way up. They're up almost 1 million fans from the year before. So that's money in the owner's pocket. Everybody's happy. Who's most happy is Lamarr because he kicked some ass this year. He has a 3.66 ERA in 260.2 innings, and he has 24 wins and 10 losses.
Holy shit!
So he's a beast inning eater. Leads the league in WHIP also with a 1.024 WHIP, and he wins the NL Cy Young Award.
My Christ!
So that's it. You're the best pitcher in the league, mister. Enjoy.
Wow.
So I mean, you go from just like the White Sox, from shit to being the best in the league.
The man didn't know his parents, James.
He didn't know his parents. He didn't know a lot of shit.
He ran home after he got drafted.
His cousin brother's brains were splattered all over the fucking television set in the living room while Howdy Doody was on. Do you understand how weird that is?
That's bananas.
He's watching Jackie Gleason, and next thing you know, it's, oh, God.
Somebody got their ketchup and eggs on me. That's not ketchup and eggs.
It's not ketchup and eggs there, son. So it's weird, though. He doesn't make the All-Star team because he's actually not having a good year by the All-Star break, and then he ends up winning 14 straight at the end of the year and closing crazy strong, and that's in the minds of the writers who vote him the Cy Young Award winner.
That's when they're paying attention to baseball.
That's
they don't
when it's
give
important.
a fuck at the start.
Yeah, the pennant race is when it's important. Over 60 years, the Cy Young had been given out. 19 Cy Young Award winners had not gone to the All-Star game that year and then got on to win the Cy Young, which is crazy. Yeah. I guess Corey Kluber of the Indians is the last guy to do that.
I don't know
a couple of years ago. I think that was when they were in the World Series with the Cubs. Okay. We have an in their own words here from Hoyt, from Lamarr, from Dewey Lamarr Hoyt Jr. about just about everything and going to the All-Star game and kind of just like a whole, state of the Hoyt Union, I would say.
Sum it all up.
Sum up how he's gotten so far. He says, in their own words, quote, I always had the same approach. I'm a different person when I cross the line, whether it's coming from the first base side or the third base side. When I cross that line, I'm out for business and to make short notice. I always tried to control the pace of my games and make them as fast as possible. If you play a long, hot summer, the more you can keep the players out there on the field instead of their own, the better you're going to be. So that was my theory on the game, too. Just get off the field as quick as possible and get your batters up to hit, which the fielders appreciate that shit. Nothing a fielder hates. I mean, if you're Nolan Ryan and you're going to set a strikeout record, it's fine. But nothing a pitcher would hate. Right fielder hates more than standing out in the afternoon sun while you go 3-2 to every single fucking batter. That's got to be
and
like, will
ground
you
them out
or pop them up or eventually or whatever it is. But these long at bats, you're like, God damn it, get a fucking ground ball in the second pitch, please. Give them shit to hit and let's get this over with. So that's definitely a big deal.
He was hip-hop's biggest mogul, the man who redefined fame, fortune, and the music industry.
The first male rapper to be honored on the Hollywood Walk of Fame, Sean Diddy Combs.
Diddy built an empire and lived a life most people only dream about.
Everybody know ain't no party like a Diddy party, so.
Yeah, that's what's up.
But just as quickly as his empire rose, it came crashing down.
Today I'm announcing the unsealing of a 3-count indictment, charging Sean Combs with racketeering conspiracy, sex trafficking, interstate transportation for prostitution.
I was up. I hit rock bottom, but I made no excuses. I'm disgusted. I'm so sorry.
Until you're wearing an orange jumpsuit, it's not real. Now it's real.
From his meteoric rise to his shocking fall from grace, from law and crime, this is the rise and fall of Diddy. Listen to the rise and fall of Diddy exclusively with Wondery Plus.
A few miles from the glass spires of Midtown Atlanta lies the South River Forest. In 2021 and 2022, the woods became a home to activists from all over the country who gathered to stop the nearby construction of a massive new police training facility, nicknamed Cop City.
At approximately 9 o'clock this morning, as law enforcement was moving through various sectors of the property, an individual, without warning, shot a Georgia State Patrol trooper.
This is We Came to the Forest, a story about resistance.
The abolitionist mission isn't done until every prison is empty and shut down.
Love and fellowship.
It was probably the happiest I've ever been in my life.
And the lengths we'll go to protect the things we hold closest to our hearts. Follow We Came to the Forest on the Wondery app or wherever you get your podcasts. You can binge all episodes of We Came to the Forest early and ad-free right now by joining Wondery Plus.
He makes $325,000 for the 83 season, which in 1983 is goddamn good money.
Yeah.
That's like $1 million now. That's good money for a young guy, young contract. He's still in his first contract.
Does he get a bonus for
Not
that
bad
Cy
at all.
Young shit?
I'm sure, maybe.
He's got to, right?
Most contracts have like an all-star bonus.
Probably $10,000.
All-star bonus, Cy Young, but it's probably not much. That's the thing.
Ouch.
It's probably not much. And it's so cheap too. Back in the day, they talked about owners who would, like, a guy would, if a guy had 150 hits, he'd get a bonus. He'd have 149, and they'd order the manager to sit him down the last 3 games of the year so he wouldn't get a $5,000 bonus.
Fucking cheap
that the guy's fucking earned.
Yeah.
It's like, that is the worst shit.
He's worked his balls off all year.
And they were sitting up there going, ha, 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 ha. My hair is as silver as can be.
My daughter will get her car.
Oh, boy. So 1984 season comes in, and he comes in very large and not quite in charge. He comes in, this is the year where he gets up to 275, 280,
Jesus.
Or he's like King Kong Bundy coming into the ring. Carlton Fisk, the all-time great catcher, Hall of Famer.
Sox.
Yeah, White Sox and Red Sox. He says, quote, "He's got everything it takes, including a lot of stomach." That's his comment on Lamarr coming into camp.
I didn't know Fisk was so funny.
He's a ball breaker, apparently. People laughed at him. He came into camp weighing over 170 pounds, and people were yelling, "Save the whale" at him.
Oh, no!
Save the whale was a big thing back then.
Oh, those bastards.
So people were chanting, "Save the whale." It's kind of one of those things.
Baseball fans are the best hecklers ever.
They are. This is probably embarrassing. I won't say which, but I had a cousin who was in California when Jim Abbott played for the Angels.
No.
You know who Jim Abbott is?
Stubby arm.
He's got one hand.
Right.
And he was a teenager. He was 16 years old in the 80s and was a complete asshole. And he'll tell you now he feels terrible. He was a complete asshole, I'm sure. But him and his friend would sit by the bullpen and like the upper deck by the bullpen and just yell at people. And they'd yell at whoever, and they'd try to annoy them and get them to look up and then act like, yeah, all right, and like just to annoy the fuck out of them, just to bust balls. And for some reason, they just started calling Jim Abbott Sideshow. And they're going, "Hey, Sideshow. Hey, Sideshow. Sideshow. Hey, Sideshow." And they're just yelling Sideshow at this poor man as he overcomes incredible obstacles,
ridiculous
to accomplish
odds.
Amazing athletic feats. That if you've seen that man throw a pitch and then flip the glove onto his fucking hand and then switch it it's amazing. Just the fact that he could do that's incredible.
Just in case that ball comes back at him.
Yeah,
and he can catch it with that hand.
It's
again.
Amazing. He doesn't have to knock it down with his nub.
And watch him ball that thing into his fucking armpit every time he throws the ball.
Dude, it's crazy. And for his troubles.
There's no fingers to hold the fucking mitt. He's got to ball it into his armpit.
So for his troubles,
Sideshow.
He was called Sideshow for an hour and a half by a couple of asshole teenagers. Yeah, by a couple of 15-year-old assholes. So that's a great story.
Great.
That's terrible.
I bet you Jim Abbott remembers that.
If I ever met Jim Abbott, I would honestly apologize for my cousin. I'd be like, "Look, dude, I don't think you remember this, and it had nothing to do with me because I wasn't there, and I was like fucking 11."
He'd interrupt you and go, "Sideshow."
Sideshow. I'd be like, "Shh, yeah." I'm sure he's very sorry. I apologize.
He remembers every insult ever slung at him. I guarantee.
I'm sure he does, man.
Absolutely.
So, he's got an explanation, Lamarr does, for his weight here. He says, quote, "In baseball, it's easy to come in after a game and sit and drink beers, and sit and drink beers. It's hard not to pick up a couple of pounds." None of the other guys are 280, though. That's not a couple of pounds. That's more than beer weight.
He had 55 pounds.
That's more than beer weight. Like, I've heard that what ball players will do, the old school kind of guys, and they sit around, they'll have 4, 5, 6 beers, but that's not, that doesn't make them 280 pounds. They just ran around for fucking hours and played baseball and sweat and You don't get to be 280 like that.
And also standing in the locker room while they drink those. They don't put their feet up and drink a case.
Yeah, they're hanging out. Yeah, they just exercised for a long time. It wasn't, cardiovascular. It wasn't, what's the word I'm looking for? Not cardio, aerobic. It wasn't an aerobic exercise, but it was exercise. Right. They sweat. It's hot.
It was movement.
It's movement. Right. So their record this year in 84 is 74 and 88. So they kind of let themselves go a little bit, much like Lamarr. The team lets themselves go. Now, this is a weird thing. They're in Anaheim, and he hears from Norma again when he's in Anaheim. She called him at the White Sox hotel, and she showed up, and they had breakfast together, and then that was it. And then in another time, the next April, she showed up later on in Atlanta and called him. And he said, quote, "She's in the lobby and I have about 10 people up from South Carolina. We were just messing around and she wanted me to come down and visit. I said, wow, I hadn't heard from this lady since I was 18. He forgot about the breakfast at the hotel.
Right.
He said, I didn't know how to handle it or take it. I excused myself to her and said, I have a lot of people up here. Quote, maybe that's selfish on my part, but I hadn't seen her. She was like another person. It wouldn't be like a fan calling up. It would be like a fan calling up for my autograph. My mother is my aunt. She hadn't bothered to call for 12 years, so I guess another year wouldn't hurt. I told her, give me an hour or two. I didn't think it'd be nice to leave those people in the room. She acted like if I didn't come down, it would be too late. So he never came down, and she left, and that was that.
So many shades of Joe Dirt.
That was, he's like Joe Dirt with talent.
Yeah.
That's the difference. He's a big, strapping, talented son of a bitch.
Joe Dirt minus the fucking space dirt.
Yeah. That's so at that point, they were asking him in this interview, like, are you going to try to find her? And he goes, I don't even know her last name. I don't even know her last name. He said, quote,
look on your license,
well, he said she's been remarried a couple times. She was a Bozeman at one time and a Hatfield at one time. She may be something else by now, for all I know. He's like, I don't fucking know this lady.
She could be a McCoy by now.
Could be a McCoy. I'm not tracking her ass down.
She's a Hatfield once.
She's a Hatfield once. So now 82, 19 wins was tied for the most in the American League. 24 wins last year in 83 was the most in the American League. This year he leads the league in something else. He leads it in losses. He's 13 and 18 this year. So a couple extra pounds. Unlike David Wells, isn't helping him. No perfect games with that. He has a 4.47 ERA and 235 innings. Last 3 seasons, he's pitched 239, 260, and 235 innings.
My Christ.
Which is obscene. That is fucking obscene. That's over 700 innings in 3 years, which nowadays is unheard of. You would never pitch 700 innings in 3 years. Nobody would. It's nuts.
That's so much.
That's a
lot of baseball for a fat man.
That's a lot of wear and tear on that arm for any man, fat or not. So on November, he leaves on the annual team cruise, which I guess they have a team cruise, and it's like a team building event for baseball, which they just spent 6 fucking months together. You think they'd be like, I don't want to travel anymore with these people. I'm tired of them. This is ridiculous.
This is a different mode of transportation, Chubby.
Y'all were flying and driving now.
Now it's
going to be floating. It's going to be totally different. We go out in international water and anything's possible out there. But let me tell you what. No, it was supposed to start in San Francisco and take them to Acapulco. And him and a guy named Greg Luzinski, who's a longtime player, teammate, were completely obese. And I guess word got back to the team of how fat he was and how fat they were, and he planned to go on a diet after the cruise. That's this is my last hurrah. I'm going to blow this cruise out, eat some buffet, and I'm going to go home and fucking get on the treadmill or something.
Okay.
The team said, quote, that worried us. We didn't know what weight he could possibly be up to between December and the start of the season. He could be 400 pounds by then. He has 3 months to eat. This could be fucking.
We got the holidays coming up.
Yeah. Oh man, this is gonna get bad. Holidays ain't even here yet.
We have to put each of these fat fucks on one side of the boat.
So, they called his agent and asked. They said, "Will he go to a fat camp in North Carolina?" They asked him to go to a fat camp, no, we're not fat shaming. They called it a fat camp back then. They said, "Your client willing to go to a fat camp?" Those are the words said.
I'm blown away that an adult needs to do this.
Yeah, well, it's more like a spa type, figure out, how to eat right and all that shit. Just a reprogramming center almost here.
Lots of celery.
So the agent said, let me take care of it, because I guess he was big into healthy living and healthy eating, and he said he'd take care of it. And Jerry Reinsdorf, the owner, famous silver-haired middle-aged white man, he agrees to this. Now, he said after a few days, he already lost 5 pounds.
That's great.
Took it right off. But while that was happening, just a couple days later, while he's losing weight, White Sox trade him to the Padres.
Okay.
They get so worried about his fatness, they just get rid of him. And that's what they used to do back in the day. If there was a problem with you, no matter whether you were a pedophile, a little overweight, or had a drug problem, they just pass you off on another team and hope it goes away and it surfaces with them instead.
Or at least it's their problem.
Yeah, they'd be like, yeah, we got rid of him. They didn't realize that he's a fucking disaster. Cool. Yeah.
We sold him the fat man.
Got rid of him. So he's traded with Kevin Kristen, who's a minor leaguer, and Todd Simmons, who's a minor leaguer, to the Padres for Tim Lawler, Bill Long, Luis Salazar, and Ozzie Guillen.
No kidding.
Who Ozzie Guillen, going to the White Sox, becomes a longtime White Sox, and then their manager for a long time, and, kind of a big, huge figure in their organization over the years. So he's a catalyst in that trade. It's so awesome. Weird. The two trades there. And these Padres, this is a good team. They were in the World Series the year before. 84, the Padres and Tigers went to the World Series.
Is this the cool jerseys?
This is the brown. These are the cool. These are nice fucking jerseys. These
gold and fucking
red. With the gold around the letters. No,
yellow.
with like the brown on the shoulders and the white in the middle and they have the brown ones.
Yellow in it?
Yeah. Fuck yeah. Dude, they're dope. These are dope ass jerseys. So this is the team that has Steve Garvey. They have Greg Nettles, the ex-Yankee third baseman that won rings with them. A super young, so long ago that Tony Gwynn wasn't fat yet. That's how long this was ago.
They drafted him.
Yeah. So long ago that they had a thin Tony Gwynn. Bruce Bochy, the future great manager, is there, and also Andy Hawkins, the only man I've ever seen lose a no-hitter 4-0, like a fucking idiot, for the Yankees. It was like Memorial Day, or I've talked about it before. It was a holiday, and he lost to the White Sox, I believe, 4-0, like at a 4-1 or something, like a complete jackass. Errors, walks. Plus, they were a terrible team. I remember Jim Leyritz playing in the outfield, making errors because he's not an outfielder. It's a goddamn catcher, and he's walking people, and then an error drives in two, and
no hitter
though. Yay! Look at you. I remember not knowing how to feel about that as a child. Going, I guess.
Is he the only man to lose a no hitter?
Fuck no, that's happened before.
Has it really?
But never. Usually it's 1-0.
Yeah,
you walked it in. And there was an error there. 4-1. What the fuck is that? It wasn't even close. Not even close.
Also, that's a boring ass game. That's the most boring 4-1 ever.
Watch the entire goddamn thing. All of it. And just the horrors. I think it was raining outside.
That might be the one step lower than 1-0 soccer.
Yeah. It was goddamn boring. So at home, Lamar's wife, Sylvia, he's got a wife named Sylvia who is long suffering here. She bought cookbooks on health food and how to cook chicken instead of, pork and beef and all that type of shit. She learned all the low calorie cooking. He got into teriyaki chicken. That was his new favorite thing.
He thought that shit was low cal.
Yeah. He said if his wife made swordfish right, that it tasted like steak. So he liked that. Swordfish is a hearty, thick steak. I could see that.
It's a little denser fish meat.
Which was his favorite. And now he's got the swordfish. They didn't make any more fried foods. He switched to salads. He really changed his shit up. He really did. He came in.
What did he lose?
No, he lost like 40 pounds.
Oh, okay. I thought you were saying he lost 8 pounds.
40 to 50 pounds.
Oh, that's great.
He came into camp the next year. They didn't even recognize him when he walked in. Literally, they didn't reckon. They expected a big, giant, fat guy with a beard to come in, and he tells the receptionist that he's the guy you traded for me, and they're like, okay. And then he eventually, the third time, he goes, I'm the big fat guy you traded for. He's lost a bunch of weight, but that's who you're expecting. They told you a big fat guy's coming.
I used to be the big fat guy you guys traded for.
So finally, they paged Jack McKeon, who's a famous guy, and went on to be the manager of the Marlins later on and all that. He was the Padres general manager at that point. He was paged, and they told him to go to the lobby, where I guess McKeon was just blown. He couldn't believe it was him. He's like, holy shit, you're a different human being.
You made a ball player out of you.
Everybody expected him to be 30 pounds heavier when he came back, and he was was 40 pounds lighter, and they were saying like McKeon was worried about the trade, and he said the second he saw him, he goes, "You just alleviated all my worries, kid.
You're a starter, kid.
That's all I worried about was that you're going to come in out of shape and not care. Apparently, you made it a priority to get in shape, which is a good sign."
You must really like that you're in San Diego.
Yeah, absolutely. And they wanted the trade because they needed more pitching after being beat by Detroit in the playoffs. So they were trying to shore up their pitching with a former Cy Young Award winner. Lamarr said, feeling all trim and he's still 235, but he's a thick guy too. I mean, he's just a thick dude. He said, quote, "I feel like a teenager. This is the new Lamarr Hoyt." So he's ready to fucking roll. He said he had the team's best tan. Too.
Really?
So, quote, "I learned how to get a tan in winter ball. You can't watch TV there anyway because you don't know what they're saying, so you have to lay out." Okay. So rather than learning Spanish, he decided to get skin cancer. He thought that was a better option.
I'm near the equator, and I can't understand the TV, so fuck it.
No shit.
Somebody get me a strawberry salad. I'll be by the pool.
Yeah, I'll be out there. Strawberry salad sounds nice, Jim.
It's delicious.
He said that he thought it was bullshit that he was traded from the White Sox. He didn't understand why they traded him. Like their thing was, well, we have so much pitching that we had extra. And he's like, that's not a problem in baseball. Nobody has too much pitching. An injury tomorrow, and then you don't have enough pitching. He says, quote, "No one has that much pitching, and it's telling the tale now with their pitching situation. I just didn't understand at the time why the Sox got rid of me or why they deal Britt Burns to the Yankees after he pitched so well last season." So he's just questioning the White Sox front office shit that they did before. 1985 season, he goes to the All-Star game for the first time. And he's the All-Star Game MVP.
Oh, okay. I was going to say, as a Cy Young Award winner, you didn't go to, but then again, he turned it on after the All-Star break.
And this year he had a very good start of the year.
Got it.
He says, this is funny shit, the umpire at the All-Star game was a guy who he didn't like, a guy who he didn't like the way he called games. He said, quote, "I didn't like what he was doing, and he was the same guy who broke my winning streak in Detroit 2 years before." Okay. So he said he called him out of a shit game here. He said he was pissed off. He said, quote, "So I walked down the mound, and he said to the umpire, quote, 'This ain't Detroit, and this ain't no regular season game.' I said, 'Are you going to call the game right or what? Do I have to get thrown out of this goddamn game?' He said, 'I don't know if anybody's ever gotten thrown out of the All-Star game.'" I don't think they have.
I don't think so.
I don't think it's usually a friendly game. But
usually a lot of smiling.
Yeah, you hit a ball, a home run off somebody, they shake their head at you and point your finger and they smile, and it's just kind of
I think the pitcher generally walks over and high fives you as you run around the bases.
Generally, it's known that you're not going to. You're going to get a lot of fastballs.
Yeah.
It's the guy. They're trying to throw strikes, and you hit the ball great. That's the way it is.
This is for the fans
today. It's for the fans, and let them go play some deep. This doesn't count on your stats.
Right. This doesn't even count against the World Series.
Doesn't count for shit. Now back then, not at all. So he said the ump said, quote, "Nah, I'll call him," and he said then he called them right after that. So for some reason he didn't like him the first time. Okay. I don't know. So he wins the All-Star MVP award, which is weird. In the fifth inning, the NL scored 2 more runs, and he thought that he knew that he'd be the pitcher of record, but he didn't think he'd win the award. He said, quote, "I went up and sat in the clubhouse and talked to Pedro Guerrero, who's a famous fucking idiot." He was the guy whose defense was he's too stupid to run a drug empire. They said he's too dumb to tie his shoes and make his bed, so he couldn't possibly deal cocaine.
But he did.
So he said, "I was talking to Pedro Guerrero when we watched the rest of the game on the TV. Then some guy from the commissioner's office came and told me I was going to be MVP if the score stayed the same. Everybody's always playing practical jokes on people, so I started yelling at him, like, 'Who paid you? Who made you come in and say that?' And he ran out of the clubhouse pretty much. But he comes back like 5 minutes later with a card from Peter Uberoth asking me if I'd be in uniform in the dugout at the bottom of the ninth inning. Since it came from the commissioner, I figured I better go down there."
Should probably do that.
Probably go down there. It's pretty funny. He said also, "I was a little ticked off because I had a few good years in the American League and thought I should have had an opportunity to play in one earlier." In 82, he said he started off the year 9-0, and it was kind of an insult not to go to the game, but being the MVP of this one made up for all the past, he said.
Nice.
So that's nice. Now, this Padre team under manager Dick Williams, which is a great name, finished 83 and 79, so mediocre. Yeah, just nothing spectacular. Lamarr in his All-Star 85 season goes 16 and 8.
Okay.
Fantastic. A 3.47 ERA, so again, lowers his ERA an exact run, which isn't bad at all. 210 innings pitched, so add that to the total. Yeah. It's a shitload. 210 hits exactly in that, so not too shabby there. Only 20 walks, so his control's amazing. Yeah. 20 walks and 210 innings is really fucking good. Yeah. That's a phenomenal thing here. And everybody likes him. They keep talking about how much everybody likes him. The manager saw him for the first time, Dick Williams, and he said, quote, "My gosh, he throws just like Catfish Hunter." He said, "But you hardly know he's even here." I like that. He's a quiet guy. Like, I don't get any shit from him, so that's perfect. Now the White Sox, they said that they were much happier to be rid of him at this point. They talk a lot of shit about him.
Really?
It's weird.
Everybody in San Diego loves him, you bastards.
That's no, the team, not the players. The players liked him. They think he's great.
Okay.
So
front office though.
Yeah, they said a bunch of players, and the White Sox players, are watching TV in the clubhouse, and they saw Hoyt pitching for the Padres, and they said, "Where was the beard? Where's the belly? Didn't he used to win ugly? Where'd he get that tan?" So they're all looking at him like, "Dude, look at him. He looks great. He's all thin and not bearded and all that shit." And one of the players said, "Yeah, I saw him on TV." And the other guy said, "That's the new Lamarr Hoyt right there, I guess." And everybody was like, "Yeah, that's like," everybody's like, "Yeah, good for him." And they were like high-fiving over him.
Watching TV.
Watching him like, "Yeah, good for Lamarr." So everybody fucking likes him. That's the thing. Joe Sparks, this is funny, former minor league manager in the White Sox organization. That's the guy he fought with and the guy who sent him down to single A.
Gotcha.
Who he fucking hated, and he thought that Sparks hated him. Yeah. He said Lamarr doesn't like him. There's not a lot of guys Lamarr doesn't like, and this guy is one of them.
And he's vocal about it.
He's vocal, yeah. But Hoyt hadn't told Sparks that. Now, he kept it to himself. Sparks, who was selling cars in Phoenix at the time, which is terrible, out in the heat, sweating. Can I help you look at something? Squinting in the sun. Jesus.
Can I show you a Dodge Shadow? Just get in. It's
fine. We'll start it up. It'll crank right up. So he saw Hoyt at spring training in March of that year, and while he was selling cars, Hoyt might have said, like, "Well, look who's right now. I'm an all-star, and you're selling cars, moron." Not that there's anything wrong with selling cars, but if you were going for a career in baseball, it's not where you were looking to end up.
That's where you wound up.
Yeah. He said that this Sparks said that they had a conversation, a brief, pleasant conversation, and he said that Sparks has a lot of class, or Sparks said that Hoyt has a lot of class. He said, quote, "He's a most courteous guy. He looks like he came from a family that had real good upbringings. Everything was yes, sir, no, sir." Well, no.
You're a terrible judge of character, sir.
He came from not that at all, but that's okay.
He remembers a child being accidentally killed.
So there's that. I mean, that's a thing.
And that child was his cousin who was being brought up as his brother.
It's his cousin brother. These things happen.
How about that? Now get back to the fucking brochures on the new Dodge Ram, sir.
No shit. Buddy makes $975,000 that year.
All right.
Pretty goddamn good, especially for the 1985. That's good goddamn money. And let's just say he's a Cy Young winner. He's an all-star. He's making good money. Grace.
That's it.
This is grace right here. No. It's from here, it is a slip and slide of atrocities and problems and issues that happen. So February 86 comes around, and this is when pitchers and catchers have to report early. They report like around Valentine's Day. Now, before his 86 preseason physical, he filled out a waiting room questionnaire in the place that they go for the physical. It's a sports medicine place. Sure. They say, what drugs is he taking? And he said Valium and Restoril. They said, was there any problems associated with the use of the listed drugs that he would like to discuss with the physician? And he answered yes. And they didn't talk shit. They didn't say a word to him about it.
They didn't ask him anything.
They completely fucking ignored that. So he put it on the form that he's asking for some sort of help, and they ignored him completely. Now, what ends up happening later on, they end up believing that he's a big cokehead from this. It's a weird thing. This was old people that were in charge of shit, had very little knowledge of anything drugs. So they were like, what's he on? Valium? So he's a cocaine user? I hear he's smoking the cocaine now. Like, they didn't have any idea what the fuck that was going on. So we'll talk about that in a second here. He ends up, February of 86, turns out he says he has a problem with pills, and I believe him, based on the fact that he is detained at the border from Mexico at San Ysidro. That's how it is. San Ysidro at the border for trying to carry across 3 grams of weed, 79 Valiums, and 46 Quaaludes.
There's your problem.
So that's an issue.
3 grams ain't much. That's a half ounce.
Yeah, that's not even an eighth.
Not even a quarter.
Is 3.5 grams. A quarter 7. So that's not even an eighth. So that's just like that's a few joints worth of weed. Yeah, that's in Mexico back then. It was probably $3.
I'll bet it was.
It was a 3 bag. It was probably $1 a gram. So
from a child selling chiclets and pencils too.
Yeah, absolutely. So he has problems. He said that he and his wife Sylvia were having trouble at the time. He said that she was suspicious of there being other women because he's a baseball player and that's what they do. And he said there was no need to be suspicious. He said, quote, Sylvia was raising hell and causing trouble. When you do what I do for a living, there's always groupies, people hanging around. And the worst thing is when you get letters from people you don't even know. I mean, females offer themselves in any particular way. I mean, you don't ask for these things. I get these letters sent to the ballpark a lot, and they'd forward them to my house during the winter, and Sylvia would open them. So he said they'd be... this was causing a lot of problems in the marriage. He says we were having marital difficulties. My wife was upset all the time, crying, and I wasn't sleeping well. He's got a huge sleep problem. He can't sleep at all. He sleeps like me, this fucking guy. He said, so I went and asked for sleeping pills. I wasn't sleeping at all. Never. Period. And my arm hurt. It's hard sleeping with a bad shoulder. So this is a problem, too. He's got shoulder pain, and he's trying to self-medicate rather than figuring out what's wrong with his shoulder. Back then, you kind of kept that to yourself because you didn't want the team to think your shoulder was shit. So they would try to hide shit and self-medicate, and that's what they did. They were like wrestlers back in the day. Like, well, my knee's fucked up, but I need to work, so I'm going to fucking just take a bunch of pills and drink some booze, and I'll just go up to the hotel and die in here. Right. Like, it's insane. So...
I'll die in a parking lot in my 50s.
That's it, yeah, or mainly in a hotel. That's my one goal, is to not die in a hotel room. I just don't want to die in a hotel room.
No John Panette life.
That's
for you.
all I'm asking. Yeah. Jesus Christ, that's the worst. I don't want to die in a fucking hotel room. Jesus Christ.
That's how John Panette died.
That's how a lot of comedians and wrestlers die.
Hotel room with fucking tons of
and Greg Giraldo. And comics and wrestlers die with painkillers and booze and cocaine coursing through their system in hotel rooms. It's just the way what's the way we go out and they go out. It's just very similar lifestyles.
How you handle it.
That's it. So if it's for comics, it's for mental pain. That's the difference. He says we were having, she was upset all the time, crying, and I wasn't sleeping well, hard sleeping with a bad shoulder. He says we were getting a divorce for one thing, or talking about it, and that's when I left for San Diego. We were separated. He had a bottle of Valium with Sylvia, but he took a few pills with him on the airplane, he said. He needed to sleep, and that's why he also had the marijuana, was it helped him sleep, which I get that, mister. On February 10th there, he'd been told, he went to the doctor and been told his shoulder was fucked up. So, and his shoulder is highly fucked up, we'll find out later. Way more fucked up than he thought it was.
Really?
He figured he'd go to Mexico to look at jewelry at that point. For some, my shoulder's messed up, got a drug problem, I might as well get some bling bling. Let's go get some turquoise jewelry, shall we? So he left. Before he left, he said he stuffed some of Sylvia's pills, between 4 and 6, into his pocket, as well as 2 joints. And he said in case he wanted to sleep. He also said he carried between $2,000 and $3,000 in cash for the jewelry down there. So he said he was in Tijuana. He saw a switchblade in a store window, which we'll talk about that for a second. So he bought it for protection because he had all that money on him, which makes sense. He's in Tijuana in 1983 or 1986. You probably, it's a rough town.
That was in 2006. It's dangerous.
Yeah, in 1986, way worse. So he says he met a taxi driver, a guy named Javier. He says he can't remember how they met, just that Javier was sitting there on the sidewalk and they began talking. Somehow the subject turned to Valium and sleeping pills.
Weird.
So weird. It's weird. Most people I meet, within the first 5 minutes, we're bringing up Valium and sleeping pills. Isn't that weird?
Yeah.
It's always every person I talk to.
Cab driver going, how do you sleep? And he goes, it's Valium and sleeping pills. You need some?
You need some because this is Mexico, and there's a lot, and you could just buy it here over the counter. It's fine. So Javier told Hoyt that he could get him some. He could get him a whole bunch as soon as he wants it. But this is Mexico. So Hoyt left Javier some money, over $100, and that's all I'll say, he says. And he said he'd come back in a week or so to get the pills. So Hoyt headed for the border, and that's where they found the pills on him. He says, quote, I'd given Sylvia the prescription bottle. That's why I didn't have the bottle. If I'd had them in the bottle, I'd never even have gotten in trouble. I just had them in my pocket. I told the guy what they were, the Valium, and they laughed and said, yeah, sure. But see, I had 2 joints in my pocket too. 2 joints, 4 Valium, and a knife, he says. Now, he says the officers told him to pay a $575 fine and be on his way. Okay. Now, a week later, he's served with divorce papers.
Oh, God.
So now he's hit hard. His wife, they're now separated, and he's got divorce papers, and she hired a well-known divorce attorney. So this is, I'm going to fucking clean you out, named Marvin Mitchelson. And he said that was like, he kind of spun out from there because he's like, oh, not only does she want to divorce me, she's serious. She's got this fucking lawyer.
And we're in California. I'm about to be ruined.
Shit's going to fuck me up. So later on the same day that he gets the papers, he says he wants to go out for a ride in his brand new 1962 Corvette.
Yeah.
Which is a sweet ride. Jesus Christ. He didn't have any pills on him, but he did have weed, and he runs a red light in Kearney Mesa, and the police happen to see him, and they pull him over
because he's in a less than conspicuous vehicle.
Yeah, they see him, and it's funny too. You run the stop sign in that car. I'm surprised they don't just pull you over to take a look at the car. Right. You know what I mean? And go, be careful out there, Chief. You know, you were probably admiring your dashboard. I understand. It's a beautiful fucking piece of machinery.
Your dash is all metal. That is pretty impressive.
That's pretty nice.
Yeah.
No, instead they surround the car with their guns drawn for a stop sign, which is odd. So they search him, and they find the weed, and they also find a switchblade on him, which is illegal also. Yeah. So he's got an illegal weapon and the weed. So at this point, word gets back to the Padres, and they're like, okay, this is a fucking disaster. Now, this is twice in 2 weeks that he's got problems here. They begin negotiations to send him to the Hazelden Foundation, which is a drug and alcohol clinic in Minnesota, and it's one that the owner of the Padres supported financially. Smith, this guy, he calls Hoyt's agent, and they worked out the details. I guess Hoyt was in Yuma, where spring training had just started, and they told him to go home to San Diego and bring everything with him, but they didn't tell him why, which is like, oh boy,
that's a shit phone call.
Yeah, that's a shit phone call, man. That's terrible. He says about the whole thing, quote, I got in trouble at Kearney Mesa. I've got 2 joints and a knife. So the Padres say, oh, it's his second brush with the law. He's obviously got a drug problem. Let's send him to a rehabilitation center. Two joints. That does not merit going to a rehab center. I guarantee you that. But no. The other things do, though.
Sublime will tell you when you smoke 2 joints, you smoke 2 more.
Well, maybe, but maybe not. And then you do what?
I think it was.
And then what bad happens?
Smoke 2 more.
And then what?
And then you smoke 2 more.
And
then keep smoking 2 more.
And then you go to sleep after you ate some Lucky Charms, and then you're an adult, and that's your life and prerogative. What's the fucking difference? You don't go out and fucking blow things up. I guarantee you that. Very little. None of the 9/11 hijackers had weed on them. I guarantee you. None of them probably did.
But Nancy Reagan, if she were around,
it's got to be. I think it's somebody's joke. They'd be like, let's. Oh, wait. So we're going where now? For why?
For why?
For why? Maybe we order pizza instead. Maybe we try again tomorrow. I don't know. This is ridiculous. Right. This is good weed. We have an eighth left. Why? Why fly in building? We finish weed at least till tomorrow.
Allah will understand.
So I think so. So, Jesus Christ. For both these things, he's ordered $620 fine, and he forfeits the drugs, obviously. He ends up being, the other thing, a plea agreement, the weed and the switchblade. He gets a $375 fine, and he's placed on 3 years probation. On February 27th of that year, he enters a substance abuse. He enters Hazelden there in Minnesota. He's sent there for 28 days by the team, who persuaded him to go there. He didn't want to go there at first. He ended up staying the whole time. He was allegedly diagnosed in the beginning with having an alcohol problem, and he denied it. And he denies it publicly, too. He had a court hearing, and his attorney said, do not fucking talk to the press. Whatever you fucking do, you ignore them, you look straight ahead, and you walk into that fucking court, you shut the fuck up. So on the way in, he looks over at the reporter headquarters and says, I am not an alcoholic, which is not what they told him to do. No. They were like, God damn it. Exactly the opposite of what the fuck we told you to do. Yes. God damn it, you fucking moron. Oh, so the lawyer said, quote, I begged him to keep his mouth shut, but I don't know what he's going to do, and I can tell him to keep quiet, but that doesn't mean he will. I think he will. He promised he will. I don't know. So he's just like, I don't even know anymore. He's annoying me. So,
but he didn't lie. I mean, he's not necessarily in trouble for booze. He's in trouble for drugs.
That's a good point. Yeah. And the president of the team, Ballard Smith, told him, quote, it might be okay to have this happen once, but not twice.
Yeah.
That's silver, baby.
Shame on me.
Right there.
How does it go?
Shame. Fool me once, shame on me. Fool me twice. Or fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me.
Right.
Yeah, that's the whole thing. So
me, you, and George Bush.
Yeah,
none
fuck
of
it
us
all.
know it.
So Hoyt says here, Lamarr says that the people at the foundation labeled him an alcoholic because his father's an alcoholic, and he said that's not fair.
No,
he said, "quote to get in there and to get told I'm an alcoholic is something I really didn't accept, and I don't think I ever will. Still, the thing that amazes me is figuring out how I can be an alcoholic after being arrested twice for having 2 joints. That's something I still haven't figured out and probably never will. It's a tag I'll have to wear for the rest of my life." And he says that, he said that the joints in his coat pocket now. In one interview, he says, I took them in case I wanted to sleep. And then in another interview, he says, I haven't worn the jacket in 5 years, and I didn't even know they were in there.
That's
and
bad weed now.
I was surprised I was surprised as the customs agents to pull him out of there.
After 5 years, is that even weed anymore?
Yeah, right. No shit. He said he never had Quaaludes or Valium as reported, which is what he ended up pleading to. So
you were charged with it.
Yes, and he pled guilty to also. And then when he said when he got the weed and the other thing, the weed and the knife, he said, quote, he thought he was going to be killed. He said the police drew their guns and I said, holy shit. I turned sideways so they'd hit me in the side, not the front, because I had my cousin killed when I was 18 years old and I don't like guns. I'm totally afraid of guns. So yeah, he's not into guns because he watched his cousin get murdered not murdered, but accidentally shot in front of him. So he said that his nerves and everything, he was all messed up, but it wasn't because of alcohol. It's because he never pitched the way he pitched, like that he's pitching like shit now, and it's because his arm hurts. And he said his shoulder still hurt, and he's had tendonitis in his rotator cuff, and it's just not healing up, and that's what's screwing him up and making him not be able to sleep, and the pain and all that shit, which is fair. And plus, he said, the shit with his wife was weighing in on him. He said, I'd say it had a lot to do with my arm. I wasn't worried. I was worried I'd never be able to pitch again or pitch in the manner I used to. That was probably the main contributing factor to my emotional state of mind. Plus, going through the process of telling my wife I wanted a divorce, I was the one who initiated that action, and also her hiring Marvin Mitchelson as her attorney. That was rather devastating. I cared enough about her that I wanted her to hire a good attorney, but not a bloodsucker that was out to pad his pocketbook and not looking out for her welfare.
Now we're getting there.
I wanted it to be nice. I wanted to have a nice amicable divorce, and have everything be fine, but then she wanted to take my money, and I was like, oh, hey, hold on a second. I wanted to fuck other chicks, but I didn't want to pay you for it. That's what he said.
I still got to live.
That's basically what he said there. Like, hey, whoa, I know I wanted to get some strange, but...
they're not going to be impressed with my single wide.
No.
Calm down with taking all my money.
He wanted to quit baseball when he was in rehab.
Really?
He said, I was there at Hazleton for 10 days, and I called up Ballard, who's Ballard Smith, the president of the team, and I told him I was leaving and that I didn't want to play baseball anymore. He said he was just... he said it was just too. He didn't like the environment. He said one counselor upset him a lot at Hazleton. He said, quote, he was just this suspicious guy who didn't believe anything I said. I told Ballard if this was the kind of crap I'd have to go through for rehab, I could see what would happen when I get out. I didn't think it was fair. I mean, I wasn't an alcoholic. I'd done what the Padres asked me to do. They asked me to go to Hazleton for 5 or 7 days. That's what I'd done. After 10 days, I was ready to get out. I didn't feel like I belonged there. The guys in there didn't feel like I belonged in there either. He said, I let a lot of responsibilities go by the wayside. I threw a lot of things off on other people, like my agent. I wasn't handling any of my own affairs. I was letting my wife handle all the financial situations. I couldn't tell you before how much things cost. Now I can. I'm paying all the bills, living up to my responsibilities, and I feel very good about it. So he was saying it was just, he said, before I was in such disarray of thought that I really had no idea what I was doing, where I was, or what I was even wearing. Unfortunately for me, I was caught in a couple odd situations, to say the least, but that's something I can't do anything about. It happened. It's part of my history. It's part of my past, and it's a reputation I'm not very proud of. No. But it's something I have to live with. He said, if you're going to label me an alcoholic, you're calling 75% of the players in baseball an alcoholic, which is completely factual. They go out and drink just about every fucking night.
I'm not surprised.
Technically, they're alcoholics, but, whatever.
Functioning.
They're functioning. Yeah, that's the thing. He said it doesn't bother him now that he's not trying not to drink. He said it doesn't bother him when teammates drink beer in front of him. He said it would be real hard if I were an alcoholic. It would be hard if I had to have the stuff, but it's never made any difference to me whether I drink or I don't drink. It's no big deal. I have no trouble not drinking whatsoever. Right now, I'm in a position where I don't want to drink, and it's probably more practical than I don't. He says he hasn't smoked weed or used drugs in 2 years. He said alcohol, maybe I've used to have a couple beers from time to time, if that, maybe a wine or a beer. He said that he's alone now and kind of set apart from his teammates because he doesn't want to drink or do the things they want to do. Right. He says, quote, I'm off by myself now, so I guess that's the way it's going to have to be for a while. Yeah. So, yeah, he's kind of separating himself, and now he's like this depressive guy who's kind of depressive anyway, and now he's kind of can't even hang out with the guys and do shit like that.
He's on Valium, which makes you more depressed. That shit is a vicious drug.
He's on shit like that. He's in the middle of fucking home problems and financial issues. It's a mess, man.
Valium's so bad for it, though.
It's so bad.
It exacerbates every symptom that you have that implies kill yourself.
Yeah, well, that's
It's a bad one.
Yeah, I think it's that and depression aren't a good...
No, they're a terrible mix.
Not a good mix. Really terrible mix. Alcohol probably bad, too,
then they treat injuries with that shit, and you're already depressed that you can't move or that you hurt when you do, and then you're jamming this shit into your face that makes you want to just pull the trigger.
And the alcoholic thing, and first of all, let me say that I don't know the truth of it. I'm not a doctor. We're not doctors. We're not counselors. We don't know shit. But there's a certain contingency of alcohol counselors. Like if you ever listen to the old Love Lines, Dr. Drew on there would tell people all the time that they're an alcoholic, and they're like, I don't drink at all. And they're like, but you're still an alcoholic. And they're like, I don't understand what you're saying.
You can't say that to me.
They're like, I don't get it. And they're like, well, both your parents are alcoholics, so odds are you're an alcoholic. And they're like, yeah, but I don't drink. Well, it hasn't been activated yet, but you're an alcoholic. And they're like, but I don't even like fucking liquor. What are you talking about? So I get that technically, scientifically, whatever it might be, that might be true. But it's hard for people to accept, I think, that they're an alcoholic if they don't drink. Right. They mean alcoholic in terms of a broad sense of addiction, not just alcohol, but alcohol is a tendency to other drugs and shit like that. It's all the same tent.
You're doing your patterns of behavior right now mirror and match that of an alcoholic. And if you touch booze and start to get a taste for it, you're going to be fucked.
Sometimes. Right. Like I come from a lot of alcoholics in my family. I just really don't like booze. I'll have a beer and I drink 3/4 of it. And I'm like, that got warm now. I'm not into it. I don't know. I can't get into it. I'm old enough now where if I was going to get into it, I'd have fucking got into it by now. Just don't really like it that much.
Boy,
never have.
I love that shit.
Never really have. Weed, another story. So he says now the 86 season comes around, back to baseball. This is Pete Rose going for the all-time hit record. Okay. Trying to break Ty Cobb's all-time hit record. Lamarr says, quote, I remember starting a game against Cincinnati and Pete Rose was trying to break the hit record. I told our catcher, Bruce Pochy, ask him if he wants to know what's coming. Because a lot of times, that's what they'll do. If it's a record situation, they'll be like, I'll groove one for him. Fuck it. I'll be in that highlight reel forever. My name's always out there.
Or Space Jam. If you want Michael Jordan to get a hit, you give him signs.
That's it right there. Yeah, that's what it is. So he said, Hoyt said, I can give up a hit to be part of an all-time record, you know? Every time they'd show that replay, I'd be a part of it. And when you get your hands on being a piece of a national moment like that, you've got to realize it. Yeah. But Pete, being the man that he is, said, no way. I don't want to know what's coming. Which is insane. That's unheard of. Everyone's like, fuck yeah, throw it about here.
Well, how about Pete Rose?
Said, shit, no, I want this shit the right way. No, he's
gambling fuckhead integrity.
On the field, the guy's an animal ball player. There's no let up. Pete Rose never shaved a run. Yeah. He wants to kick your ass.
There's no quitting that.
He wants to kick your dick in the dirt, but he might bet against the team before the game because he doesn't think he's going to do well. That won't stop him from playing hard, though. He said, so, quote, first time up, one pitch, he hits a fly ball to shortstop. Next time he flies out to left. Then next pitch another pop-up to shortstop, and I'm still just throwing fastballs right down the middle. I'm not even really trying to put anything on it. He, I guess, was screwing up the way batters do sometimes. But then the next thing that got me, Eric Shao started against him. In the first inning, he hit a one-hopper to left field and broke the record. So he almost... The day he was to pitch the game before.
Damn it.
And Eric Shao ended up pitching, who is a disastrous human being.
Really?
Eric Shao. Oh, my God.
I can't wait to talk about it.
Wow, is he a mess? I don't know if there's enough for a crime in sports.
Really?
He didn't really get arrested much, but just a fucking train wreck of a life.
Okay.
Very sad. So July 86, here it comes, Jimmy.
Yeah.
This is possibly the funniest reason that anyone's ever missed a ball game or of any kind, a sporting event in life. He's injured, and this is, I mean, I don't have proof of this, but this is everything you read about him. It's in his history, oral and written. Right. He misses a start due to a burn injury. He's burned on his back when his hair when his back and ass hair catch fire when he tried to light a fart.
No.
He tried.
Get the fuck out of here.
He said, hit the lights. And somebody turned the lights off. And then he went, oh, shit, Jesus H. Christ. And he went up in a blue fucking flame and missed a major league start.
I wish that was on video.
Because his butthole was burned. See, this is July 86. No cell phone cameras. No. Someone would have went to record that. He would have said, hit the lights, and they would have turned the camera on, and then they would have showed him go up in a fucking blue flame.
That's a man that took his shirt and pants off to do it, too.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, you don't get burned.
Well, no, maybe his pants. Yeah, I would assume he probably did.
Or maybe it was a nasty meth act.
I've seen guys do it. They'll lay down, throw their legs behind their head like they're fucking getting
like
plowed, and fucking light that shit. I've seen that a few times. But he lit his hair.
His back hair got
his
caught on
back
fire.
hair, his ass and back hair, like it went up his ass crack and lit it fucking like a forest fire.
There's not a lot of force behind that. Then it kind of trickled up
and burned him pretty good. Apparently, I don't know if the fart, if it got in his underwear.
Slow.
Yeah,
that's what happened.
Well, he might have sucked back in too a little bit.
Yeah.
That'll burn your asshole and burn all your hair too. I'm not sure of the art of this,
that
but
is amazing.
He
missed a game.
He missed a game due to flammable flatulence.
You imagine calling in.
Listen, guys.
You imagine an accountant calling into work and being like, I can't come in today.
I'm injured. You're injured. What happened? I'm burned. Oh my God! Was there a fire? Is your house on? Are your kids okay?
We're good.
No, it was a pretty concentrated fire. It was very acute, about the size of a quarter. It was a very small fire. It spread.
It's a concentrated burn.
It's a very concentrated burn. Very concentrated.
Very controlled. That got a little bit out of control.
Out of control, but one little roll and I was out of it. So he misses a start there, which tells you how his career.
He got a slow push on a blue flame.
It's not good.
You really got to get that one out, sir.
You got to fire that bitch off. You really got to expel that shit. So much like his lighted fart, the team does not do well, nor does he that year. This is record here is 74-88 for fourth place. Not very good. I mean, one of your pitchers lights a fart and misses games, so that tells you where your season's going.
That's how bored your team is.
Jesus.
They're lighting their farts on fire.
Yeah, fuck it. Why not? In July. He starts 25 games, goes 8-11, so not terrific. A 5.15 ERA. Yeah. Well, his buttholes hurts. I mean, it's difficult to pitch that way. 159 innings pitched, 170 hits, so that went up a little bit. His walks even creep up a little bit more than normal, so he's 68 walks as opposed to 20 the year before. So he's not doing well, and not doing well so much that's the last. October 3rd is the last game he'll pitch in the majors ever. That doesn't mean his career's over in the majors, but it means that it's the last game he actually appears in. We'll find out what that means because he's still on the payroll for a couple more years. And he gets re-signed, and it's a whole mess here.
Lucky duck.
His career numbers, 8 years, 98 and 68, so at least an over 500 record. A 3.99 ERA, so he can say I have an ERA under 4 lifetime, so that's pretty cool. 1,311 innings pitched, 1,313 hits, so pretty close on that one. Not bad. 681 strikeouts and 279 walks. It's not a bad little career here overall.
Yeah.
Not terrible. He makes $1 million that year,
Uh-huh.
which is fantastic in 86.
So he's made almost $3 million, right?
Yeah, and by the end of the season, he's back together with Sylvia.
Oh.
So, I mean, things are looking up.
She heard about $1 million.
She heard about that million. She
chat.
goes, well, I don't know. Well, let's give him another chance, maybe. We'll talk about it. So, things are looking up for him.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this looks like a bounce back from a post-Grace mess. Like, things are going to be fine until October 16th, 1986, when he is arrested. Shocking. At the San Ysidro border. Again, same place. October 16th. This time he's trying to import 490 pills.
That's a lot.
So now he's got a load. He went back to Javier and fucking went to pick up his load here. 322 turned out to be Valium, and 138 were suspected to be Quaaludes at the time. So it's the same thing. That's what he's into. Spends the night in San Diego in jail. Goes to federal court the next day wearing a prison jumpsuit and he's got growing his beard back too, postseason beard here. So he went across. This is another wonderful way of getting caught. Goes across on foot and tries re-entering at the pedestrian entry at San Ysidro. He's met by a customs agent who questioned him about his citizenship, which is what they do. They go, what country are you from, and what do you have anything here to claim? Those are their two questions that are typical. So he said that, I'm an American citizen. I went to Mexico and I bought about $200 worth of clothes, and he showed him the clothes. He had bags of clothes. He showed him that. And at that point, the officer noticed that his hands were visibly shaking. So this is great.
Why are you nervous, son?
So, well, the officer looked closer at his hands and down where he had his hands by his bag there, and he said he noticed, quote, an abnormally large bulge in his pants.
Oh, for Christ's sake.
Which, I mean, that's a compliment, number one. He could have said, sir, are you packing some serious fucking steam, or are you just happy to see me? Like, what's going on here? So he then escorts Lamarr to a secondary inspection area and tells him to take off his pants.
Oh, boy.
Where he found the 2 packages of pills in his crotch. At least it was better it wasn't up his ass like Ben. If it was up his ass, he would have never got caught, though. Yeah. So that's one thing.
It's pretty impressive that he had.
It's a lot of meth up your ass.
That's how proud of himself he is. That he put all those pills in his dick.
Yeah, he was like, I'll just put it in my dick.
They'll never know. I clearly have a huge crank.
Everyone knows I got a huge dick.
I'm storied.
Lamarr Dewey Jr. got a huge cock. Everybody knows that. So they told him, he said that he bought the pills in Tijuana from, once again, brings up the Javier taxi driver. I think that's just his go-to. A taxi driver named Javier. Yeah, that's right. That sounds Mexican,
that's
right? Yeah, sure. He said then the guy drove him to the border and he went to walk across. In court, they said he talked very slowly and softly and showed little emotion because he's on a shitload of Valium, probably. It's hard to show emotion at that point. He said he was charged with attempting to import the Valium. If convicted, maximum penalty here is 5 years in jail and a $250,000 fine. And if some of the pills are Quaaludes, which they're doing a chemical analysis, that would carry a maximum penalty of 15 years in prison. That's why Quaaludes went away. They made them like a special bad thing. So that's a schedule, whatever. They put it in with harder shit.
Heroin.
Yeah, and $250,000 fine. Now, the prosecuting attorney told the judge, quote, there appears to be the potential of substance abuse here. No shit. You think?
So. Yeah.
No, that's a lot of Quaaludes he's having a party. He wants to make a nice punch that everyone's going to enjoy. What the fuck, man? I don't know what to say about that exactly. But
there isn't much to say. It's just fucking what a silly
potential
statement. He should have just said,
he's got a problem,
judge, and the judge would have said abuse.
I think he's got a problem. Probably. I think maybe he needs some help here.
Right.
Jack McKeon, the Padre general manager, takes this as an opportunity to rail against giving players money and treating them like human beings. He says, quote, now you see why clubs just don't want to talk about multi-year guaranteed contracts. This is a perfect example of why you need drug testing. If you give multi-year guaranteed contracts, only the player is guaranteed, not the team. We thought he'd pitch here 4 years. Last year it was a wasted season, and next year it could be the same thing.
Well, you guys threw him fucking way too much.
Yeah, you also destroyed his fucking arm. That's the point. Now, counselors advised him, Lamarr, to stay separated from Sylvia, but others said to get back with her and to try to work. So he had multiple counselors giving him multiple different advice of what would be best for his recovery. Right. So he returns to her because that's what he knows. Yeah. After the season, they split up again for a while because that's what he does. His shoulder still hurt, and he wasn't sleeping, and he was smoking more weed, which is another fucking problem. Which is another issue. So October 28th, Sylvia decided to go home to South Carolina, and Hoyt drove her to the airport, and she took off for South Carolina.
Goodbye.
And what do you think he did?
Went back to Tijuana.
Well, he went down there a few days before with Sylvia and ordered some leather jackets. Mm-hmm. He's a huge into leather jackets, apparently, and he has 60 leather jackets in his closet at this point. He says, I got all different ones now. I got fringes coming off some of them. This one's my Ultimate Warrior leather jacket.
He is so 80s.
This is my biker leather jacket. This is my long knee-length leather jacket. I wear this one.
This is my duster.
This is my duster. I wear this like for dressy occasions. Right. I wear that.
I like to wear this one when the Clantons and McLowrys want to shoot out. I like to put this one on.
That's fucking great. His mom's a Hatfield. So
that is the point.
He on October 28th, right after that, he said, I'll go pick up the order. Fuck it. So he's got a Porsche. Mm-hmm. He parks his Porsche at the border. He's got 2 joints in the car, by the way.
Yeah.
For sleep.
Why does he always got 2?
For sleep.
Just 2.
I get it. He walked across the border. The jackets weren't ready. He came walking out of the store just like, I guess I'll go back. And he says, Tijuana is a small place. It really is. If you've ever seen Tijuana, it's like Main Street Disneyland. Yeah. It's just one street. It's not. It's a big place. Full of teeming with people everywhere that you wouldn't run into the same person 3 times.
I wonder where Javier is.
He said he comes out of the leather shop, literally just turns to his right and bumps into Javier. Oh my God, it's Javier again. I haven't seen you in so long.
The last 2 times I've seen you, I really got in a real pickle.
So let's hang out.
Yeah.
So he said he hasn't seen Javier since February, so might as well talk to him. Lamarr asks Javier for his money, because he gave an order. Right. He gave money for an order. So they go to a nearby restaurant. They talk, and Javier slipped Hoyt, he says. He slips Lamarr a couple of Valium. Yeah. Then Javier said he'd be back in 30 minutes. So Lamarr sat in the restaurant and drank some pina coladas. He said, quote, I'd had a couple of pills and now the drinks, so I was pretty zapped when he got back, especially since I hadn't slept in 3 days. So that's a tough one.
My goddamn parrot head music on the microphone. Do you like pina coladas?
Everywhere.
Yes, I do.
Just everywhere.
I like pina coladas.
So he said eventually he came back with the 500 pills, and he said, if you want your money, take it. Take it. There they are. That's my money. And Lamarr says at first he told him he didn't want the pills. Good God. He said,
Jesus, don't force those on me.
What are you doing? Then he said, I hadn't slept for about 3 days. Me and Sylvia were in constant arguments. That's why she was leaving. I didn't need the pills, but when they were offered, I said, well, damn, I haven't slept in 3 days. It sure would be nice to sleep for a couple days. It was a bad judgmental error. I screwed up. It was the wrong use of that word.
I just want sleep.
He said he walked to the border. He said he saw a trash can at the customs office. He said, the funny thing about it, I looked down at the trash can and said, God, I don't need these things. I should just chuck them. Then I said, nah, they won't stop me because they've never done it before.
Right.
Jesus Christ. They did. He said he had bought a leather polo shirt, which is the worst piece of...
What?
That is the
Why does that even exist?
The name of this episode is going to be fucking Flatulence and leather polo shirts, because I don't know what the fuck to make of this. Leather polo shirt.
Why do you have that?
In a million years seen a leather polo shirt.
Never.
So the officer saw that and said he must be on drugs if he bought a leather polo shirt. Then he saw the bulge in his crotch, and that's how that whole thing went down. So, now November 13th, 86, he is in court and he pleads guilty to misdemeanor drug charges. He's scheduled for December 16th for court. Yeah. He's going to spend at least 60 days in federal prison under the terms of a plea agreement he made with federal prosecutors. He pleaded guilty to possession of Valium, propoxyphene, which is a painkiller. He was arrested, like we told you, for smuggling pills. Now, December 16th is sentencing, and he is sentenced to 45 days in federal prison. You, sir, may fuck off. 45 days in federal prison on a misdemeanor drug conviction over the objections of the prosecutor, who wanted more prison time. Hoyt he had contrition in court. He said, quote, I'd like to apologize for what I've done. I've let a lot of people down. For the first time, I'm beginning to understand understand my problem.
The first time.
I'm starting to get it. It's been a bunch.
Arrest number 3.
My problem is I shouldn't go to Mexico and try to. I stay away from Javier is my issue here. This is all Javier's fault. No one ever knows if Javier's a real person, by the way.
Really?
No, no one knows. So the judge said, quote, it has nothing to do with him being a star baseball player. This also includes 5 years of supervised probation, a $5,025 fine for each of the drugs. It's a total. The fines are total of $10,050. So it's $5,025 for both. This is 5 years probation, like we said, and he's has to undergo drug testing during his probation. He's fined, like we said, the $5,000 on each. There was some confusion about the fines originally for some reason in the reporting. He also has to forfeit $26,000 and his 1986 Porsche in his plea agreement also. So that's a problem. Yeah. So now he's got to get rid of his goddamn Porsche. And later on, it's offered to him by the finance company that he can get it back at full price.
Oh, that's slimy.
Like, I'm going to fucking rebuy my own car.
Bunch of jerks.
Yeah, so that was a problem there, you know. Yeah. So now the U.S. attorney argued that he should be jailed for 120 days. He was pissed off at the sentence. He said, quote, I believe he has a serious drug problem. It's clear to the which is interesting. He said, it's clear to us the magistrate is wrong. The question is the principle worth fighting for in light of the sentence imposed? So he has a drug problem. Let's lock him up. Yeah. Like, I don't know. He's got an issue. I get it. But it's every time we have these players with drug issues, we laugh at them because they're idiots who keep getting stopped with drugs. And you're like, Jesus, of course you're going to get arrested. But then we're also like, you're also doing drugs. So maybe the prison isn't the best fucking, who the hell knows? So, he said his own lawyer here, Lamarr's lawyer, accused the government of a knee-jerk reaction. They said they look at Mr. Hoyt as a Major League Baseball player and a figure he must be a drug addict. Lock him up and put him in jail. That's kind of how they're looking at it. So January of 87, he's ordered to report on the 5th to begin his sentence at a place to be determined. He asked for the Elgin Air Force Base in Pensacola, where he would be near the spring training sites of several Major League teams. 2 days before he is to serve his 38 days in jail, the Padres try to release him. They try to release him without paying him. They try to cut him based on a morals clause, a good character clause. But this is not how contracts work and how the union works for baseball. So he files a grievance, and this shit is
he wins.
It's going to be a fight here with this whole thing because they're trying to not pay him is what it is. And it's like, you can release him, but you got to fucking pay him is what the union is saying.
Conduct unbecoming hasn't become a thing yet.
I mean, I kind of feel bad for the Padres because they get this good pitcher who's supposed to be a Cy Young Award winner, and then he
shows up in great shape.
He's a goddamn all-star. He's doing great. And then this happens. It's unexpected. He's a nice guy. I mean, his wife is long-suffering. She's a fucking Aunt Mommy Margaret. God damn it.
She worked her ass off.
She worked her ass off. Treated him like a member of the family. I mean, I feel bad for all these people, Jimmy. I really do. But not nearly as bad for. I can't find any Lamarr Hoyts, but the one guy kept coming up in searches of Lamarr Hoyt because this poor guy's name is Steve Hoyt, and he works at Lamarr Advertising Company. And every time you search for Lamarr Hoyt, he pops up in there somewhere. So this poor bastard, it looks like he's trying to hide with a different name. He's in Westland, Michigan. Poor bastard. I feel for you, Steve Hoyt. You are you have not been busted at the border with hundreds of pills. Tell you that right now. So, February 25th, 1987, Lamarr Hoyt, he's suspended for a full season by baseball commissioner Peter Ueberroth because of his repeated involvement with drugs. It's the most severe penalty imposed since the whole 1983 Pittsburgh cocaine drug thing that we talked about with Willie Mays Aikens and all that. So they're going to fight that also. But I mean, that's interesting. February 87, that's something interesting that's going on. But way more interesting than that, Jimmy, is the sales. The sales, Jimmy, the sales. If you happen to be traveling through time and you end up in February of 1987 and you happen to be in the St. Louis area and you're reading the St. Louis Post-Dispatch, you might see these fine ads Pat Riley, which is, I don't know if it's the coach. Not the coach. He's got a Lucky 7 sale. Pat Riley is the name of the store. It's an electronics and appliances thing. He's got a Whirlpool under-counter dishwasher, Jimmy.
Shit.
Normal wash cycle, energy-saving, air-dry option. It's top of the line.
Energy-saving in 86?
Yeah, it just means it just sits there and then it gets spots all over it. $199.95.
That's a deal.
Not bad. But the other thing here, truck mirror, Jimmy, just one, just a $9.97 per truck mirror, which is pretty impressive. But most of all, this is the one that gets me: a microwave cart. Remember when people had their microwaves on carts in the 80s?
Yeah,
because counter space wasn't built for microwaves because it was from back then, so no one had room.
It to the bottom of the cabinet.
No. So they just put it on a cart next to the counter. Microwave cart, $7 with purchase of any microwave,
and that's built by real wood.
That's a $59.99 regular value for a microwave cart.
$7.
The sale. So if you're in St. Louis, make sure to stop by Pat Riley's and give that a shot.
$43 off.
Oh, it's good stuff. So the 87 season, June 17th, 1987, he's officially released by San Diego, but it's all through an arbitrator, and the arbitrator decides they have to pay him. They decided that the arbitrator decided, based on a 46-page report, that the team just decided he was a coke addict and suspended him in there. He said that the team president had a conversation with a doctor friend at a dinner party. It was called a social gathering in the thing, and suggested, and they said that Hoyt's situation deserved more serious consideration. So this president of the team asked the physician friend at dinner, who had a sleep disorder, he said what the use of what a sleep disorder and the use of Valium might mean, to which his friend replied, cocaine. It's definitely cocaine, the doctor said. So
that doesn't help you sleep at all.
Well, they're saying that's why he's awake. He's using Valium and still not being able to sleep. It must be cocaine. He said that in the report, they said it's plain that Smith used this, quote, diagnosis as a basis for not changing his mind about releasing Hoyt. But there's not a sliver of evidence in the report that Hoyt used cocaine at any time during his major league career. So this report basically says, fucking these Padres people are assholes. They didn't do shit. They're old people that have no idea what they're talking about, and they're trying to get away without paying somebody.
Makes sense.
It is. So Joan Kroc, who's the owner of the Padres, said, quote, "We may be forced to pay him, but we will not be forced to play him." They're like so anti-drug, the Padres. Yeah, they released Alan Wiggins a couple years before that, who I think ended up dying of AIDS from needles, I'm pretty sure, later on from IV drug use.
Abandoning somebody.
Yeah, I think he died in like the early 90s too. Yeah, they'll just back then they would just trade you. Oh, get rid of him. Yeah. Bye. So this is so also the year-long suspension is reduced to 60 days from the start of the season by the arbitrator too. So that shit's up in June. So April, May, it's over already by the time this is. He's ready to do it. The report cited a psychiatrist's evaluation which described Lamarr's stress and anxiety and said he was a medication misuser rather than a substance abuser. This report ripped the Padres for being insensitive to his personal and medical problems, which I tend to agree with here. Now, Padre players heard about the whole thing here, and they like him. So they said, one guy here, Tim Flannery, said, quote, "It could be a real tragedy to give up on a player because he had a problem like that. That's the whole thing about drug testing and why the unions have fought against it. You see things handled like this, and people say, I'm never going to give them a chance to test me. Everybody wants to know why we're against drug testing, and we're against it because of things like this happening. It could be a tragedy because Lamarr is such a good guy." Tony Gwynn. Also, Tony Gwynn said, quote, "It's kind of scary that somebody can be labeled as a cocaine user that easily. I think if he'd gone a different route in getting what he had to get, I don't think there would have been a problem. I don't think anybody would have thought anything about it." In other words, if he would have just went to a doctor, to the team doctor, and said, "Can I get a shitload of fucking this and that?" they would have just given it to him. Painkillers and shit. Yeah. In football back in the day, the NFL used to just walk down the aisles handing out painkillers. Who needs this? Who needs halcyons and shit? It's like, what the fuck? Who needs to sleep?
Like Halloween.
Yeah, that's what it was. The guys would just be taking pills and drinking
booze.
Where's
your pillowcase?
Yeah.
What do you say? Yes.
Oh, God. And everybody's on their high fucking horse about this, too. Like, in the 80s, people were so shitty about drugs like that. Like, they need to be dealt with harshly. And it's like, well, no, that's only going to make it worse, probably. So, who knows? In the LA Times, there's an article that says, baseball should say no to Lamarr Hoyt.
Wow.
This is the whole article. I'll read the whole thing to you because it's very short. "It seems outrageous that Lamarr Hoyt should be back on the Padre payroll after his drug experiences. Which sort of, quote, arbitration is that? I hope Joan Kroc will pursue this through the courts. We're trying to get the youngsters to say no to drugs, and this man, who should be an example and a hero to them, is let off with a slap on the wrist. He should be ashamed of himself, and professional baseball has already been ashamed by this award.
Signed, Nancy Reagan.
Jesus Christ. Yeah, that's a fucking fun guy.
Wow.
Real fun guy. So July 1st, 87, he's signed by the White Sox.
Oh, great.
They're going to give him another chance. The GM said, quote, Hoyt's path to regain control of his life and career will not be easy, and the end result will be the sole responsibility of Lamarr Hoyt. He will report to Daytona, and there's no intention of bringing him back this season. So they want to get him down there and just kind of get him in a groove. But he's got an arm injury, and it's still bothering him. And he figures out where he hurt it first. He said the All-Star game, he pitched a game in St. Louis right before the All-Star game. Yeah. And he said before the game they were throwing around some crazy balls in the outfield, which is like a wiffle ball with holes all over it. And he said we threw some, and one felt weird, and I had a little twinge in my shoulder, which, wiffle ball, fuck you up. He said, but I didn't think much about it and started the All-Star game. He said both of those, or either one, can be career-ending, but it wasn't until I finally got away from the Padres and signed back by the White Sox that the White Sox found out what was really wrong with me. Turned out I'd torn 3 tendons that tie your rotator cuff together, and I later found out that I also had 2 bicep tears. He wasn't placed on the disabled list. The Padres never looked into it thoroughly. The treatment, Hoyt said, was ice, stretching, and rest, along with the cortisone shot from time to time. Awful the way they treated people back then, athletes. So they were just like, "You're fine, just keep pitching."
Cortisone does nothing. It numbs the pain so that you can.
For a minute, it's fine, and then you fuck things up worse, and then So a guy named Jerry Royster, who's a teammate, says if he believes anyone can overcome this problem, it's Hoyt. He says, quote, I feel good that Lamarr is getting another shot. I'm not one of those guys who feels once you have a drug problem, you always have a drug problem. I'll use Tim Raines, who overcame cocaine abuse, as an example. Lamarr knows he needs to turn his life around. He's a gamer. If I was to bet, I'd bet that he would do it better in this situation than anyone else.
Tim Raines overcame cocaine?
Apparently. He seemed to not be a cocaine user
he lives
later.
Here in Phoenix somewhere.
Does he?
Somebody
might do it now.
I know
but
dates him.
Really?
I don't remember who it is.
He didn't get busted for it anymore for the last 15 years of his career. So they were like, hey, good for you. Yeah. Not bad. So Royster says he has trouble believing what even happened to Lamarr. He says, quote, it's just so sad. If someone broke out of jail and got caught trying to smuggle drugs across the border, you wouldn't think anything of it. But this is Lamarr Hoyt. He's not the kind of guy you see being arrested at the border. He's not really a criminal.
Wow.
So he made $1 million that year.
There you
go. That the Padres, they're still on the hook for this money.
Yeah.
Because they basically said, yeah, you can cut him, but you still got to pay him. So anybody that signs him, they're signing him under that deal, and the Padres are paying it.
White Sox don't have to pay shit.
It's like a free guy.
Yeah.
What do they care? If it works out, great. If not, fuck the Padres.
What a deal.
So who cares? So on December 5th, 1987, acting on a tip, which is always bullshit.
Yeah.
That always means bullshit.
Yeah.
Acting on a tip, the Richland County Sheriff's Department raids Lamar's apartment.
Oh, no.
Lamarr he ends up being arrested, and we'll find out why. They said when they came through the door, he said, oh, no, not again.
Oh.
And they entered his home.
That's some bad words.
That's bad shit. He was like, oh, shit. They served him a search warrant. They found about 2 grams of cocaine.
Oh, boy.
Now there's cocaine.
Yeah.
So he didn't have cocaine all before when all they did was say he did a bunch of cocaine, but now he has cocaine, which is fucked up because everybody's just saying how much he didn't do cocaine, and several plastic bags containing marijuana, which he probably bought a bunch of dimes or something. Right. They also seized drug paraphernalia, including quote, instruments used to cut cocaine. That led to and they charged him with possession with intent to distribute cocaine.
No.
He had 2 grams of cocaine. And we'll find out he didn't even have 2 grams. We'll find out. Just because he had shit to cut it. So if he got a bunch, he could cut it up. That's what people fucking do.
You got to use it.
Anybody who pre-dispensaries and pre-legal weed, anybody who bought weed all the time had a fucking hand scale. Right. That didn't mean they were selling it. It meant they were seeing that they were getting ripped off. That's what people do. You weigh it, you see how much you have left.
Also, you don't just jam a rock up your ass and wait till it dissolves.
Yeah, you have to cut it up.
That up.
That's the other thing. So I guess they thought maybe it was a bigger operation. But that charge carries a 10-year minimum sentence of intent to distribute fucking cocaine, especially because of his previous drug arrests. He also faces the revocation of his 5-year parole on drug charges. So he's fucked. He's taken to the Richland County Detention Center. He's released on a $20,000 bond. Sergeant Leon Lott said investigators received information last summer after Hoyt went to South Carolina that he was, quote, involved in drugs, which he's super involved with a couple of bags of weed and 2 grams of coke. He also has to face the charges of violating probation because he's on probation, parole, and this now for testing positive for cocaine use because they tested his blood because he's got the San Diego probation and he flunks that too. So he's fucked, basically. This is the first time he's been caught using any kind of cocaine. It's all been sedatives. He's totally fucked now. He's out on $20,000 bond, but for the love of Christ, man, it's fucking ridiculous.
It's stressful.
I would say it's stressful. His career is basically over. His arm's in shreds. His wife left. He's fucking, now everybody was on his side and everything. He had a lot of this goodwill. People wanted to help him. He probably could have got a job coaching in a couple of years or something. And now, forget it. Now they're like, we knew it. We told you he was a fucking scumbag, cocaine addict, and all, I'm sure, silver-haired, middle-aged white men saying how right they are. So much so, he goes back to his apartment, dejected, obviously. He's got no coke or anything to do back there. Just any weed to smoke.
They took it all.
And at that point, he's hungry, man. He's just very, very hungry because it's been a while. He hasn't slept. He hasn't eaten. So he orders some food and he finds out he gets this new thing. He's like, wow, this place delivers now. Awesome. This was a really good place. He gets it delivered. They knock on the door and it's the shawarma man. And he says, how is it you've come to arrive here? Why are you here? I don't understand. By the way, I use the food as cover. You have the shit that I need. No, shawarma man, no. I have I no longer have problem. I come over because I heard this. But no, I mean, I make for you. You want lamb, shawarma? I make, sign, say, I have to go. I want it back. You have a little bit. Just under your mustache, I say. Just a sniff for
Let me lick that.
Just some on my gum for the, I make a sign, say, close. I gotta go. Bye. Oh, and he leaves, and it's poof in a poof of lamb and tzatziki sauce. He's very confused, Lamarr. He doesn't understand. He ate the food. He said it was delicious,
amazing,
delicious, but he had no coke at all to
tip with.
Convenient for the shawarma man. He's like, I could go there, I bring food, and maybe I bring something back for shawarma man for me. So after the arrest, like we said, they said he tested positive for cocaine. He is ordered to serve a year in federal prison. You, sir, may fuck off. That's shit. A year for violating probation. He pleads guilty to new charges, and an additional 2.5 years of jail time was suspended to 7 months to be served concurrently with his previous sentence. So he's got all sorts of shit here. The sheriff said, quote, "We're not going after him as somebody who was just using drugs. A lot of people might think we're focused on him because he's a baseball player. We went after him because we were investigating the distribution of drugs."
Oh boy.
Horse shit 1987 bullshit scare tactic. And nowadays they'd be like, fuck you, dude. He had 2 fucking eat dicks, man. What are you fucking kidding me?
What a waste of time.
What are you? Yeah, they'd be like, all of you went, how much did that cost the city? Right. People would be saying now. Would you all put the uniform? You all did that for 2 grams. He was sitting in his fucking recliner. He could have knocked on the door with one guy. Jesus Christ.
So broke all his windows out for 2 grams of coke.
That's what I'm saying, man. So anyway, that's what he could face, 2.5 years, and he could get a year. So he pleads guilty to possession of cocaine and possession of marijuana from the house there. By the way, in the end, the cocaine actually weighed 0.65 grams.
Oh, those bastards.
A half gram of cocaine, they were saying intent to distribute.
Oh, those dicks.
This is nothing. That's a little tiny bit. He was going to sell that to whom?
Right.
To who?
How many people?
He's going to break it up into, here, there's a fucking enough for your pinky nail for you.
Here's a key bump for you.
Here's a little drop for you, and I'm going to make this is going to be a drug empire. Once I sell this half a gram, then I'm going to have enough to re-up for another gram, and then I'll get 2 grams after that, and eventually I'll be up to an 8-ball.
I'm going to get my Porsche back in no time.
No time. Jesus Christ. In the end, they said the judge said it's not enough to warrant a distribution charge, which obviously carries a much heavier penalty than possession. So finally, he's sentenced, and you, sir, may fuck off. 2.5 years in prison.
Oh my God.
Then he suspended the term to 7 months and ordered it, whatever. Okay. So he ended up doing what he could have done, and they do it for him. He's in prison, and he has an interview in prison. They say he said that prison hasn't done anything for him as far as like enlightened him or made him come to any kind of thing. He said, quote, prison is a dead time. It's a waste, which is especially for him. He's working a 16-cent an hour job as a clerk. He says he plays softball. I assume he's one of the star players, I would hope. Watches TV and reads. He said he's in a relationship with a woman he met a year ago after his divorce. He said it's, quote, the best thing that's ever happened to me. He said he hopes to get out of jail and run a small business in Colombia and be low-key. Run a small business, just selling cocaine. Just out of my house, you know.
South Carolina.
just in Colombia. I meant South America. You didn't know that, right? So he says, talks about baseball, kind of brings him misery a little bit. He said, quote, I would like to coach someday, but not manage, is what he says when he's in prison. He requested to go to Elgin, which is the one that's known as Club Fed. That's a famous prison known as the Club
Indiana?
Fed. No, it's in Florida.
Oh, okay.
It's Club Fed.
That's why.
He said there are no barbed wire fences. It's an Air Force base.
It's beautiful.
There's a cement road around the base. There's 2 parallel white lines painted on the road, and you can't cross the line. You're considered an escapee if you walk across the line. They have tennis courts there, the 4 tennis courts, a pool hall, a game room, basketball courts, baseball field, weight room, big screen cable television, and a newspaper stand by the laundromat. So it doesn't sound terrible. I know people who live way worse than that in the free world. Way worse than that. Like,
I don't have those amenities in my
that sounds
apartment.
great.
No.
That doesn't sound like a bad spot. I wonder if there's any units open there. What's the rent there, you think? What's the security deposit? First and last, or is it just deposit?
Think you could rent one if it's not full?
Maybe, man. He raked dirt from 7 to 3 every day. That was his one job. And then he had an hour and 45 minutes for lunch. Other days, he was in charge of washing little towels at the base of the laundromat. At 3 p.m., it was free to go and do whatever he wants. He said neither job was very strenuous. He said you just had to look like you were busy. Just stand there and move the fucking rake back and forth and you're fine.
Pass the white line.
By the way, 1988 season, he gets paid still.
Wow.
He gets paid. First of all, in June, he's given early release. They announced he's going to be given early release from prison and will serve the remainder of his prison. He ended up going to Allentown, by the way. He didn't end up in Pennsylvania. Yeah, remember Billy Joel?
Yeah.
He said, but he didn't end up getting Elgin. He said that he'll serve the remainder of his sentence in a halfway house in Columbia, South Carolina.
Okay.
So they're letting him go home. By the way, while he's in prison and then in a halfway house, he's getting paid $1.1 million for that season. $1.1 million fucking dollars.
Oh, man.
Sitting around. He's in prison going, yeah, I make 16 cents a day, right? Yeah, that's right. Oh, actually, my check just came.
Yeah.
Oh, boy. It's real big.
Guess who's got a lot of ramen?
Guess who's got commissary out the ass, bitches? Honey buns for days. Whole block on me.
$1 million of it.
Wow, 1989 season comes around. He doesn't play. He's not under contract. He's not with any team. He's sitting at home in South Carolina, presumably with his thumb up his ass, making $1.1 million.
Amazing.
So good for him. He's got a little Bobby Bonilla deal going on. 1991, he is arrested for drunk driving.
For fuck's sake.
He's arrested for drunk driving. It's not part of the other shit, so it's not a big deal. He does some little thing and he's done with that, and that is it for Lamarr Hoyt. You haven't heard from him since?
He's quiet.
He's quiet. He's stopped. Apparently, I saw an interview with him from recently where he's super thin now. He's not a big guy. You wouldn't recognize him. He doesn't look like the same guy. Looks like he's in shape. I mean, he's older, but he's born in 1955, so he's over 60 years old anyway.
Right.
So he's my dad's age, basically, a little older than my dad. He, he looks older and shit like that, and he's lived a tough life. He did drugs and fucking all that stuff. He's a baseball player.
For a year.
Went to prison. He's a ball player. Standing out in the sun all the time and shit like that, but he made it through it. I mean, he hasn't gotten arrested for drugs anymore. He says he's been clean for 20 years or 25 years.
Good work.
Been doing a good job. He's been keeping quiet. He hasn't been going out and doing all sorts of stuff, and you just don't hear about Lamarr Hoyt, man.
Good.
He just under the radar, lives his life, doesn't bother anybody.
He really got the shit under the stick, but he
kind of
bring it on himself too.
And he brought it on himself.
It's a lot of both sides.
It really is. If what he did happened now, it would have been considered way different because he wasn't ever lashing out at others. He was never in a nightclub like stabbing a guy in the face or shit like that. Like he was just fucking medicating his own bullshit, which is whatever. Can't get enough of Lamarr Hoyt. Amazon.com. You can get a signed Lamarr Hoyt photo 8x10 for $21.99 plus $4.99 shipping. Not a bad deal on that. It's a pretty cool one of him with the White Sox. He's looking chubby. It's a good one. That's in stock at the moment. Also 1986 Topps, San Diego Padres. He's on baseball card there. That's a couple bucks, nothing major. And finally, a signed Lamarr Hoyt official ball, where it's he's signed and it says Cy Young 83 on it that he signed. It's certified, legit everything. $92.99 and free shipping.
It's a pretty good deal.
Not terrible, I have to say. That's on Amazon, sold by Sports Memorabilia. And if you really can't get enough of Lamarr and you want to reach him, I have addresses for him where you can send to get autographs.
Terrific.
And this is cool because Rod used to do this too. The old players will register their things and they're going to have like a P.O. box.
Right.
And he'd come home, a couple times a week with a big giant stack of letters.
Sign and mail out.
Yeah, with people asking, sending cards. Will you sign my card? Can you do this? And Rod was cool about it because Rod would be like, he would see if it was a kid's handwriting, he could tell. And he'd be like, this is just motherfucker writing with his left hand, trying to act like a kid. But he could be like, if it's a kid, he'd be like, this shit's a kid. So he'd take the cards and he would like, if the kid had doubles, he'd like take one of them and replace him with one of his cards of himself. And he'd be like, hey man, you had two of those, so I gave you this one because I didn't have the one you had. So now we traded.
Great.
And he'd sign them all for him and the kids would get fucked. They'd write him letter. Thank you so much. It's so cool. He was cool like that. He'd like look for shit to send them. Like, I have this flyer from or thing I can send them from poster from back then. And like, he's so nice. But you can do this here. Primary address here, and it's the same as his mailing address. It is 500 Harbison Boulevard, Hrbison Boulevard, apartment 1002. I don't know if it's a PO thing or what. Apartment 1002, Columbia, South Carolina 29212. So you can, that's in the U.S. of course.
Send him a letter.
You can send him a letter. You can say, what a fucking crazy career you've had. Ask him for an autograph. Whatever the hell it is. But yeah, he's one of these. He's like a Malone, a Ron LaFleur. We've had a few of the guys. Willie Mays Aikens. It's mainly the guys who don't hurt anybody else and just do drugs. You're just like, come on, man. And if it's not like anything like Ben Cousins, like going with fucking meth up his ass and doing ridiculous shit, acting a fool in the streets and being arrested in the streets and pulled out of cars and shit. He's not doing that. He's he's a sad case of a dude with a drug problem and probably a lot of shoulder pain and shit. So I feel bad for him. And this is probably like the 8th one we felt bad for.
Yeah.
And there's no pattern I've noticed to it. It's not, some are men, some are women. Doesn't matter what sport it is. Doesn't matter what color they are. Doesn't matter how tall they are. Doesn't matter anything. It's just like sometimes people strike us as sympathetic characters, and he's kind of one of them.
One we don't feel sorry for is Kelly Lane, who now in the news
she's a
is
fucking
claiming
asshole.
that she gave birth and that baby's alive.
Yeah,
she's out of her fucking mind.
Her, we don't Sweetan or fucking Buck Zumhoff or any of those guys. Really, any of the wrestlers besides Jake the Snake. We felt bad for Jake the Snake too, and Tammy Sitch also. We felt bad, even though she apparently hates our guts. That's fine.
Which I found out, by the way, that's a fake fucking profile.
I'm sure it is,
her new one though, her real one on Twitter, where she just got out of prison, she's already pimping her fucking what is that website she does? Snapchat and
Jesus
Skype.
Christ, Skype.
She's already pimping that shit.
Skype sessions. Oh my God.
Post prison. Here's the girls sending pictures of her titties.
Jesus Christ.
It's a mess.
That's Tammy, and that was Lamarr Hoyt. That is Dewey Lamarr Hoyt Jr. Of course, very juniorish behavior, I would say. Hope you enjoyed that crazy ass story. That was one I've seen forever, and I was like, that doesn't seem like there's much to it. And then I read, and I'm like, Jesus, this is a fucking crazy story. He's kidnapped by both parents. It gets way crazier. I was like, I don't think there's enough for a whole episode here. And I'm like, there's plenty.
Too much.
This is a fucking chunky one. So, if you like that, please get on iTunes. Give us 5 stars, like we said. Just tell us you're following instructions or following directions. It's really not for our ego. It's just for business. Go out and go to shutupandgivememurder.com. Pick up your merch there, all your T-shirts and your cups and your floor mats and all that sort of thing. While you're there, please pick up some tickets for the Shut Up and Give Me Murder live Small Town Murder Tour. Especially Phoenix. That show, like we said, has changed to November 3rd, Saturday night at the wonderful, world famous, and fabulous Stand Up Live.
7 p.m.
7 p.m. because we need the extra time, honestly, because it takes a while to meet everybody.
Early time slots are nice.
Early time slots. I feel bad for whoever's coming after us because they're going to to have to wade through all of you fuckers.
Sorry.
And I love it because we're going to be representing, and they're going to be like, oh, Jesus.
Sorry, Steve Renazizi.
Is that who it is?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, we're going to sell more tickets than Steve Renazizi.
Fingers
so
crossed.
Let's do that. Yeah. Well, let's at least make him feel bad when he comes in, because no one's going to be that excited to talk to him. I'll tell you that much. Our people are much cooler.
Yeah.
So, so that said, fuck Steve Renazizi. No, fuck, he's fine, I guess. I don't know. I don't even know him. I've never met him, so he's fine. You worked with him. Yeah, he's fine. He's all right. So, whatever. He's fine. It's just fun to say. But
I just want to beat him in sales.
That's what I want to do. And do that. Follow us on social media. You can find the links there on Shut Up and Give Me Murder at Crime and Sports on Twitter and Facebook, and at Small Town Murder on Instagram, right? That's the one. And at Crime and Sports on the other two.
Right.
So there you go. Find us there.
Yeah.
It's all on the website.
Around.
You'll fucking find it. ShutUpAndGiveMeMurder.com.
Yeah.
And while you're there, you might become one of our special, wonderful, amazing, all-star, crazy, wonderfully fantastic producers. Our Cy Young winners. You might become one of our producers and make a donation, which can be done over at Patreon.com using our email address, crimeandsports@gmail.com, or over at PayPal, just using our email address, crimeandsports. Patreon is patreon.com/crimeandsports.
Right.
I mixed that all up. Who cares? I haven't slept in days. I'm really working on it.
And use our email address, crimeandsports@gmail.com.
That's the one to do there. And Jimmy, I'd like you to tell us some fine people who have done that, who have smuggled plenty of pills across the border without being busted. Hit me with that list right now.
This week's executive producers are Katharina Gueth, I think.
Ooh, nice.
Katharina Gueth.
Hey, thank you.
Talena Jensen. Talena Jensen. Kelly Mack. Thank you so much, Kelly.
Yeah.
Annette Wright. Crystal Gennaro. She's the traffic controller. Chrissy Ann Castaldi, Elisa Kamak, whatever. Melinda Cruz or Melinda Sipes, depending on how she decides to sign. Michael Kennedy, my favorite Michael Kennedy now.
Yeah, definitely.
I've already forgotten about the other one I know. Jana Dickens and Laura Nimeh or Nimeh.
Well, either way, fucking thank you.
Thank you, Laura. Jennifer Provan, Michelle Carroll, Samantha Ritchie, Caitlin McLeon, Macleon, Brianna Pempina. Pink is her middle name. Reagan Schalke, Gretchen Jones, Cordelia Winters, Jessica Manor, Christy Tosella, Sean Sullivan, Ryan Russell, Cedric Wardell, Mary Price, Sarah Toasty, Teresa Morgan, Zach Warburton, Kat Ayala.
Oh, yeah.
I forget where she's at. God damn it.
Oh, yeah.
It's somewhere fucking cold. That's what I know.
Damn it. Thank you, though.
Thank you, Kat. Jen Bass, Eric Langenecker, Courtney Cox, happy birthday, Jenny Haney. I don't know. That was the name of the person, which was, I don't know who sent it, Jenny, but
happy birthday, damn you.
Ashley Vio, Rusty Burrows, Tammy Taliaferro. No, it's Amy Taliaferro. Yes. Kapow Designs, that's Cat Power. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Brian Toole, Aaron Anderson, Aaron Nesseth, Christy Fuck, I knew I was going to do this. Kirsty Brosvik Flatjord. Fjord? It's Flatjord.
Oh, Flatjord.
Right. It's Kirsty Brosvik Flatjord.
Shoof.
Or Flatjord.
It's a hell of a name you got.
Flatjord.
Quite the handle you got there, Kirsty.
Jesse Dotson, Sarah Webb, Kate Ives, Lynn Ann Price, Jesse Hartman, Christopher Battaglia, Willow Tufts, Caitlin Macleon. Oh, the other one was Macleon. What am I doing? There was two Macleons.
What's happening?
This is bananas. Samantha Schneider. Scheidler. Samantha Scheidler. Isaac Clark. Helen Elizabeth Nolan. Philip, is that you? Philip Chavis. Is that you, Phil? Phil.
What you doing all this good, man?
Phil Chavis, is that you? Megan Ratcliffe, Lindsay Rustan, Under the Sea Fabrics, Jerome Serwinski, Matt Dietrich, Sarah Hart, Angela Miller, who is Justin's wife, Justin Miller also, Christopher Brooks, Megan Wood, Dan Coleman, Stefan Granvix. Yes. Cervix.
No.
Barely know her. That's how it goes.
I think that's what you want to say. Thank you.
At your cervix is the joke.
Yeah. There you go.
Tara Jenkins.
We're not old enough to remember those.
Samantha Ritchie, Lewis Tidrick, Gary Howard, Hanson, Dawn Marie, Alexander Hunter, Alexandra. God damn it, it's a lady.
Important.
Sorry. Alexander Hunter, Peyton Meadows, Cody McCall, Donna Sittler, Travis Reed, Ariana Folsom, Meredith Burrell, Kathleen Pullen. Happy birthday to Abby Scheidler and Bam Stroker. Bam, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, Bam Stroker. You got it? You see that? See what he did there? This motherfucker.
Yeah, clever.
And somebody donated in memory of Second Lieutenant Joe Cunningham. I hope he listened. Thank you, Joe. Why am I thanking him?
I don't know.
God damn it.
I figured he's a lieutenant. He must have done something
hero.
that deserves thanking, I guess. Yeah.
We do this because of people like that guy.
Yeah.
Alyssa Catuagno? Yes. No. Joshua Chandler, Chantel with no last name, or Chantel.
Yeah.
Mark McCann, the non-savvy gamer. James Fraker, Justin Miller, I said that one. Stephanie Igoa, Carol Feely, Crystal Lamb, Stephen Root, whose fucking avatar looks like fucking McGee. What's that dude's name? The fighter.
Conor McGregor?
Yes.
There you go.
Bang. And then Heather Foster.
I speak
Thank you
fluent,
guys
Jimmy.
so much for doing what you do for us. We can't do it without you.
Thank you so much, everybody. Thank you. Honestly, we cannot thank you enough for everything you do for us. And the donations are goddamn huge. And they make all the world of difference in our lives and in the lives of the show.
Yeah.
And they make crime and sports like worth
doing.
So thank you so much. Honestly, we can't do anything without you. And Jimmy, what if these people wanted to tell you how much they can't do anything without you? How could they do that?
You can find me at Wisman Sucks, WHISMAN Sucks on Twitter, Instagram, and Snapchat. And I appreciate anything you guys send, whatever it is that you want to say. I do my best to respond appropriately. What about you, James?
You can find me at Jimmy P is funny, or just copy and paste my last name from the show description, because it's easier than trying to spell it on your own, because you will not. You need practice, and you need to work hard at it, and you won't do that. That said, though, it's been a wild episode. Thank you so much for you guys for hanging out. Everybody, will see you in Portland and Seattle at the Small Town Murder shows this week. We cannot wait to do that. So
be a blast.
We'll see you in the Pacific Northwest, and live from the Crime and Sports Studios. We will see you next week.
Bye.
If you like crime and sports, you can listen early and ad-free now by joining Wondery Plus in the Wondery app or on Apple Podcasts. Prime members can listen early and ad-free on Amazon Music. Before you go, tell us about yourself by filling out a short survey at Wondery.com/survey.
In the 1980s, a rosé swept the country.
Hey, Mike, I really like this white Zinfandel.
Well, good. Now put it down. I'm going to try another one.
White Zin became America's top-selling wine. But most don't know that this sweet drink has a sour history. What began in 1986 with counterfeit bottles,
A big fraud, a multi-million-dollar fraud,
sent investigators chasing one of the most powerful families in the business, the Licciardis. But the closer the feds got to them, the more dangerous things became. It's a story of deceit.
At the time, I was paranoid.
Threats.
You touch my kids, I will kill you.
And murder.
with a .22 caliber bullet to the head.
What started with a scheme to mislabel wine spilled into a blood-soaked battle for succession. Welcome to Bloodvines. You can binge listen to Bloodvines exclusively and ad-free on Wondery Plus. Join Wondery Plus in the Wondery app, Apple Podcasts, or Spotify.